shining like a beacon of bright stars. I was in a life wandering far until I found the lighthouse guiding me out the dark. When I'm scared, I send a flare and you're here in a flash. When I ask, oh dear love, where did we come from? You say that like the sun, I had the will and mission, but the wrong position. I was open, praying for a sign, until I found a lighthouse in your heart, shining like a beacon of bright stars. I was in a life wandering far until I found the lighthouse guiding me out the dark. Guiding me out the dark.
Welcome to the LXC.
Down in the rift again, where champions ascend. Warden League lights the night, diamond dreams burn bright. Tournament's heart beats fast, LXC is here at last. Amateurs with skill to prove, in this battle groove. Diamond wreck, shining pure, victory is near for sure. In the LXC.
They're gonna start Baron looking kind of a little flippy. Never mind. Mint will get it. They're gonna look for more. Kaisa's gonna commit the ult towards the top side. Lilia is going to fall. This is a 5v4. GG still looking for more. Jazz Goblin is gonna have the spell shoot taken away. We do see Mundo fighting Victor. Maokai gonna commit there, but the ulti will connect, and Maokai will fall. Gonna get the kill to the Seraphine. This is Jinx going off. Jinx has the tempo there. Both mid lane and ADC are there to pull out, and then now they will get to them, and that is a full squad wipe.
There, but you've already committed to this fight, so now you just need to play it out.
Yep, this is looking very bad. Ooh, the Zig ulti gonna connect only onto one. They will get the Infernal Soul. This is big damage gonna come up now from the Infernal Soul and everything. Gwen is just in their backline as we speak, going to just go in, snip, and that will be 5 members dead there. That's a squad wipe.
That might be game. So it's okay.
5 and mid. Oh, the Skarner ulti gonna be able to pull in one. That is the support of GG. Gonna get stuck by the Seraphine charm. Balls are gonna ult in. They're gonna pull back. Okay, Mike Angel gonna get a kill on the Swain, but this is looking way too good for the side of Mint Gaming. They're gonna look like the turn. No, but the Elder will take another one. Maya's gonna get chopped away by Elolios. This is a 1v2. This is in favor of GG right now. Only support alive for Mint. Well, boys are pulling up. Mint. Otacon gonna do big damage here. Gonna toss in the railroad there. Otacon is at 50%. This is gonna be very big damage, but Jokic is on the back just firing. They're not targeting the ADC at all. They are gonna get 2 members there for GG. GG is also gonna pick up Jokic. Just going off. Jokic not being the focus here. The 2 mem carries are here for GG, but 3 members are also there for Mint. They are gonna get it. Kalista is gonna win that 1v1, but Jazz will pick up the support. This is gonna be an ace towards Mint. Very good.
So, but they do have Baron now, so all these waves are pushing into Mint.
Oh, Jazz gonna go in deep, gonna have the flash out there. Maokai gonna be over the wall, or Ram gonna be committed there. They're gonna try to look to kill. They will get the jungle there, and J4 gonna look for more. Joker's gonna take the ADC rival matchup there. Mint Gaming look like they're gonna fall. Anthony Collier. Anthony will be picked up with 1, but the top laner is not the target you want to get for Mint Gaming, and GG looking like they're gonna close the game out here. Garen will take another one. It's a 3v1, but these 3 are pretty solid. That will be.
I think that's game.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the League of Extraordinary Champions. I'm so excited for Warden tonight. I am Badger, excited to be back on the casting this semifinals match. It's a lot of stakes on the line, a lot of sauce is going to be thrown out today. Also joined here by Storm. Storm, how's it going, man?
It's going pretty good. Pretty excited to see these 2 teams duke it out. Obviously, Tilt, the homeboys from back home, Cryptic from Mint, had a really strong season. So going into this playoff matchup, I'm really excited to see these 2 teams duke it out.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I've heard a lot of good things about these players, heard about how they've gotten this far, right? Making it to semifinals is always going to be an accomplishment, and the fact you got a lot on the line is going to be something that a lot of people I hope they don't have nerves because there's a lot of pressure, right? It's a best of 5. You got a lot of games potentially ahead of you. You could be here till 1 a.m. if you're on Eastern time. That's where I am, so who knows. But I mean, I want to talk about a little bit of the players here. The one that really jumps out to me the most is I've heard legends of Mr. Longshot Larry, right? This 80 carry for the side of Mint Cryptic, right? Seems to be a bit of a Jin connoisseur, and even though he is the man of all fours, heard he got a pentakill last week, so I think he's the player to watch out for. But Storm, I mean, I'm talking a lot about Mint, but like over on the Apotheosis side, is there a player that you're looking at and you're like, oh man, that's the guy?
I mean, not only just off his rank, but Arel has been really vocal for his team, carrying a lot of that vision for the side of Till Apotheosis. We've had the pleasure of having him over on the podcast a lot. Um, so I'm really looking forward to see what kind of statement he can make. But the thing to look at with both these teams is these are multiple teams that can kind of kill you on both angles. Indigo being a really strong top laner, having to lane up into just getting mid tonight. Um, I'm very interested to see what angle both these teams decide to take and where they think they're going to be able to choke out the other.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm also looking at a lot of the champ pools, and I'm kind of seeing a lot of uniqueness, right, compared to a lot of other players. The main one I'm looking at is Zenobia. Looks to be a very, very big Hecarim player, right? It's kind of that champion that you kind of think of as, oh, this is going to be a solo carry in the jungle. You feed everything to this champion, they're going to be able to carry games. And when you look at the rest of the pool that is kind of surrounding this tilt roster, right? The support we talk about is that highlight player, right? If this jungle and support are playing together, also, when you have a pretty supportive pool over with Punda in the mid lane, that Nico as their main champion sets him up so that Hecarim is going to be causing a lot of commotion. That's what I'm wanting to see. But honestly, Hecarim's probably going to be banned. So who knows?
Yeah, I would be expecting the Hecarim ban unless for some reason Mint Cryptic really just has the pick into it. Um, Another big pick, though I think it is more of a solo queue star, is that Talon being his second most played jungler the split. But I think maybe in a game where things are gonna get scrappy, something like being able to put an assassin in the jungle to facilitate this early game that can kind of play that high risk, high reward. If he thinks he's just got the hands diff on Yurd, could be another good pick for him to look at.
hmm And I will say, at least on paper, another player that I'm kind of like highlighting is Yurd. So you look at all these players, right? We're in Warden. This is the Diamond, I guess, Masters 100 LP league. Yurd is sitting there at Platinum 3 with 8 LP. Maybe this is his, I guess this is one of his accounts, so maybe the rank doesn't say all, but I'm kind of looking to see, hey, like, is this Platinum player actually a Platinum player? Are they playing on a different account? Also, a lot of Viego games. And when you're playing blue side, I'm always okay with someone be wanting Viego, especially if it's comfort. So I think that's something that Apotheosis has to look out for. But I mean, we're gonna have to see as I think we're finally getting into the draft.
Yeah, obviously on blue side, we still got a ton of viable first picks, a lot of high presence 80 carries, things like Jinx, Mint being that really strong Jin playing team. Varus, I think, is a very plausible first pick 80 carry as well right now. Um, as well as Tristana's been moving up in priority as well as being a flex with mid.
hmm Tristana is a really, really big champion. Looking also at Longshot's pool, Vayne, he has a very, very solid KD as well as win rate on the champion. Sivir, you don't really first pick, but it's a very, very strong kind of like early pick if you see the other 80 carry. I'm just seeing a lot of kind of these defensive kind of utility 80 carries from the side of Longshot, which is honestly what we're wanting to see, right? You get those early picks knocked out, and speaking of knocked out, they're going to be knocking out the talent ban, but the horse, he's still up and available.
And this is kind of what we were just talking about earlier is maybe do they have the pick into the Hecarim that they have the matchup they want and they're willing just to give it? Or maybe they're looking to say, hey, what if we just first pick it away from you? I personally don't think Hecarim's that great of a first pick. I think there's a lot of things in the game that can kind of just stop what it wants to do. But maybe that's Min's angle here.
I mean, they're also looking at what the rest is going to be banned, right? The Nico from Punda, I kind of see potentially if you're going to be banning out champions, you ban out a lot of those utility mid laners, the enablers in that mid lane, right? So I think when they see the Nico, I was going to suggest maybe Talia as well, but Jarvan, just making sure they don't have the denial and they're leaving up the Hecarim here. I think that could potentially be like, hey, maybe they aren't wanting to play that Hecarim early, like you were talking about, or they're just willing to bait it in and they have something in their back pocket for it.
Yeah, and as we wait for this last ban to come from Tilt, they could be looking to take away something like that Jin, but the Yone. Yone did just get changed this patch with that crit reduction on his passive being removed, as well as the unstoppable on his E is no longer there. So you can get locked up out of that Spirit Unbound, but we see Mint just hovering that Jin first pick.
I mean, it was a strong pick. It was the talk of the town last week. I see no reason why you don't first pick it here if you are Mint, right? It has the option. It plays with so many different supports. It plays with so many different styles as well. Obviously, T could go with that really, really strong tanky front line that Jin kind of struggles with, but Varus also is a potential way to enable that front line, right? You have the arrow, you have the chains of corruption. It's tough, and I think Varus is a pretty solid answer. Also, is a pretty neutral AD carry, so you're not really kind of showing too much of your comp. So not a bad option. But I'm really excited to see what is kind of going to be that blind pick here. Is it going to be the jungle? Is it going to be the support? Maybe mid lane if they're feeling crazy. But what is going to be the angle that Apotheosis is going to go with? And it looks like they're actually going to take it. It's the Hecarim.
Yeah, I think Hecarim's a really good pick here, especially when you're playing for the fact that you're hopefully going to have a counter pick and support here. Um, Hecarim not only can one follow up a lot of these engaged supports that you can pair with the Varus if they want to play for this kill lane with the Jin, but Hecarim also does really like enchanters like the Lulu, like Nami, that can help speed them up. But we see Ivern Gwen as the response into that Hecarim.
I will say Iron actually surprisingly got a couple buffs on this patch. I think they were nerfing the cooldown on his root with Q. Either the cooldown or the root duration itself, but he's in a pretty good spot. Doesn't synergize super well with the Jin, but the Gwen, on the other hand, even though she did get a little bit of slap on the wrist nerfs, that is a very solid champion to have be your Thunder Buddy. But over on the other side, Karma, very strong lane with the Varus Karma here, setting up for some lane dominance. But we'll have to see how the comps round out here going into these ban phases.
Yeah, and with these second rotation bans, my guess would be you should be targeting the support pool here. Try to limit some of these hard engage supports. That way Karma's lane can't get kind of flipped. As we see with this Nautilus, they could also probably look into like a Thresh or even a Leona. As Mint really just needs that initial burst of engage to get this Ivern and Gwen into fights.
You need the initial burst, but you also got to be careful, right? If the Hecarim is sitting in the wing, he's kind of waiting it out. You kind of see a lot of the time these solo queue Hecarims, they're just going to charge in whenever they want. They're going to find the angles. But if you play it kind of slow, right? Because over on the side of Apotheosis, they can kind of wait for a team to come in, wait for them to use their abilities, then come back right away with the Karma speed up, with the Hecarim speed up, that Varus ultimate on top. But looking at the bans, we see Cho'Gath is going to be taken away, just providing some frontline. I also believe that Punda was someone who enjoyed playing the champ, and we just see a lot of these mid lane tanks going out as Gallia is the response there.
Another thing to keep track of is technically they could still just triple flex this Karma. It's still a decent mid laner, especially blind. It has some bad matchups, but immediately we just rip blind to Kali.
I think Blind Akali is pretty strong at the point, right? We talked about, I think it was last season, where a lot of the melee mids kind of could just run Fleet Footworks, Door and Shield, Second Wind, and get away with it. Akali, even though that strat has been nerfed a little bit, is still one of those champions who can survive almost any laning phase. I think also a lot of times the more niche counter picks aren't as strong, but Ari, we talk about a very just strong pick. It kind of doesn't matter the matchup side of it because she's always going to be useful, has so much mobility, has so much utility as well in the charm. It's not bad, and I think it can pair well with enabling this Gwen. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It also just enables you to kind of not have to play into a potential volatile matchup here.
Yeah, I think it's a really safe lane. It's a pretty decent lane also into this Akali. If I'm Tilt, I'm almost curious to see if this is actually a Kali top as a response into the Gwen. Um, Gwen normally doesn't have a ton of MR, nor does she want to build it. Oh,
I mean,
and I might have
it
spoken
looks
into
like with
existence.
those hovers, you are probably right. As they're hovering Annie, I know Annie does well, and there is the new makeup put on LeBlanc, right? She's looking good, but Talia is actually such a good pick here. It stops the Gwen in her tracks. It also kind of doesn't allow for that Rakan to do what they want. Also, I love playing Talia Varus Karma. That is a combo that we did all the time on Goon Squad. It's super fun. I really kind of like it. The Akali I was nervous about, but the fact that they had that dual flex in that top and mid lane, it's gonna just gank mid. He has that mid lane still in his blood as he's gonna take kind of an unconventional pick in the top lane there.
Yeah, I think Akali being one of those, though she is assassin, can still get away with building a lot of like bruiserish style builds, playing for things like Riftmaker, Leandries, as even though she's an assassin, she does take a lot of extended trade patterns in certain lanes. But also Akali just being a general lane bully into most melees in the game is something that can put a lot of pressure on this Gwen in the early game, as well as can scale evenly with her, not allowing her to stack that passive in late game skirmishes, just dipping in and out of Shroud.
I think for lane it's really strong. I'm kind of wondering, it kind of feels like the Akali team comp wise is a little out of place, just with how the rest of the team is going to be playing, because you have some engage with the Hecarim, but a lot of times the Hecarim's not building super tanky. I kind of view this comp originally, if we're not counting the Akali, as more kind of like a siege comp. They have a good amount of range over on the other side, right? Because the longest range champion, I guess you have Jin with the curtain call, but so it's just Akali kind of feels like that weird wild card a little bit. Just gonna throw it out. Just putting this Gwen in the dirt is, I think, the name of the game with it. And if Indigo's feeling confident at putting down just gank mid, it's not a bad strategy. I got those players confused earlier, but still, I think it's pretty solid here.
I think I think it's honestly pretty good. Karma's just kind of that enabler, the general kind of Swiss Army knife champion here. It can play stand and fight. It can enable dive with that mantra shield. The other thing to think about here is when you take that Hecarim. Hecarim wants a buddy. Hecarim is a very good diver, but he's not a very good solo diver. So I think having this back line dive with the Akali Hecarim can create so much chaos while just letting Varus and Talia free hit into frontliners that may be also the angle here is if they can get that mantra shield engage with the double dive ultimates and just maybe play to blow up this Jin before it can really get any effect into a fight, they could just flip these immediately.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about, yeah, that cohesion of the comp. I'm kind of favoring Tilt Esports at this point. I think there's just looking at it, those champions kind of mesh a little bit better together. While over on the other side, with the Mint Cryptic roster, it kind of just feels like they drafted a lot of the good champions, but I just don't see a whole lot of innate synergy there. Because I'm kind of looking at it, and Iron's really only Thunder Buddy is this Gwen.
Yeah.
I think Rakan is always going to be solid. Ari and Jin, they're always going to be solid blinds, but I'm just wondering how well are they going to work together as a unit? And I think if you have the hands, which obviously these players do, they're Warden players, but I don't know. If I had to give the edge in this game one, I think I'm going to go with Tilt.
I would have to agree with you. This mix team looks like it's one of those weird. They've got a ton of catch and a little bit of follow up, but all of their catch is all built off having to pull triggers on ultimates. And as long as Tilt is being disciplined and playing around those ult timers, they should be pretty easily avoided. Um, don't be wrong, Rakan, Ari do have incredible engage ranges, but they're still very skill shot reliant. And at the end of the day, if you're just trading flash for flash, I think Tilt is okay taking those trades in these mid games.
I mean, yeah. I think we're going to have to see as these final bans are being put into place. Also, shout out to these teams. They are banning super fast. Honestly, shout out to them. But I mean, yeah, I think we're going to take a little bit of time, wait for that spectator delay to catch up on us, and we'll have to see if what me and Storm is saying is true, or if we're going to be put for not this time, as we're going to go take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Game 1.
and crowns of ancient keys. I've heard stories of distant lands, realms I long to reach. Your voice, it beckons me to go to worlds unexplored, to leave behind my home and wander.
Welcome, everybody, to the beginning of what could be the end for one of these teams. Semifinals, it is elimination on the line. The winner gets to go to finals. They get to play in the championship, play for all the marbles, and I'm excited to watch it. If you are coming in, this is Mint Cryptic over on the blue side, while we got Tilt Esports Apotheosis running down that red side. Storm, are you seeing anything crazy? Any rune sides? Any summoner spells that you're just like, this doesn't make any sense? What's going on here?
I think a good thing to pay attention to early in this game is one, we are seeing the comet coming out from that Varus, possibly looking at going into a lethality poke build here, kind of relying on that Talia and Akali to have that sustained damage. On top of that, we also see the electrocute coming out from the Akali, playing for that early lane dominance to try to set this Gwen scaling as far behind as they can.
Oh yeah, as I mean, we want to talk about a little bit of trading there in the mid lane. I don't think anything is actually going to happen this time around, but I think the poke Varus is the way to go, right? We talked about it a little bit at the beginning of that game, but the name of the game for this red side comp, they're playing range. They are playing to say, hey, you got to go through the rocks, you got to go through the arrows if you want to attack us, and the lethality Varus makes it even harder. You're playing with that long range with the Q, and it's pretty nice, but hey, you can sometimes get a bouncing grenade to do a little bit of damage there. But I don't know, I think it's a move.
Yeah, I think with this style of comp, you're not playing into any true tank. The closest thing you've got to a front line in this is your Rakan and Gwen. So this lethality Varus is just going to get constant value. It doesn't have to chunk through any amount of real armor in the game, as well as the majority of these carries for the side of Mint are actually pretty immobile. That Jin's really not going to have any ways out of this Varus poke. Sure, the Ahri's pretty hypermobile, but at the end of the day, Karma's probably just going to run in Ahri's face and say, you're dealing with me first. And she's also super risky at getting engaged on when she tries to play forward with these Talia rocks, with the Hecarim being able to press R forward and just kind of catch her on that quick.
It's not a bad call here. It's also, we're just looking at the way these lanes have played out. As expected, the early lanes from Apotheosis are kind of having that advantage, right? Akali into Gwen is very hard to play. Talia into Ahri. It's doable, but it's tough, right? Talia has that just anti-dash mechanic, which is so fun to play as. I love Talia, but regardless, you also just look at it, and one thing I also wanted to note is we talked about the Jhin being an early pick, and I was like, hey, they could play a tankier comp into this, right? And we're looking at some trading, but I don't think anything actually comes from it. But yeah, we see Jhin early pick. I would expect them to build a tankier comp. And we're seeing it. They pick very... Oh, hang on here. I'm looking at this. They go in with a very bad engage here. The level up timer is not what they want. Indigo is close. He doesn't get the damage off fast enough. He gets a first blood, but the Gwen's able to get a trade. I was going to say worth, but honestly, I think going 1-for-1 is not really where you want to be at right now.
No, going 1-for-1 there is a little unfortunate. On the plus side for him, the Gwen's wave is actually pushing into him, so the Gwen has to burn that TP, whereas he gets to walk back. So even though he may have took the lesser of the end on the trade there, at least his wave is going to be in a really good position for that level 6 timer for him to look for that next big all-in.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think that's kind of what you're needing if you are the side of Mint Cryptic, right? Wanting to get this Gwen as accelerated as possible because, like we said, the lane's tough, but Gwen, she still is that hyperscaler. She is going to have that support as well from the Ivern, Space doing a little bit of movement there just to maybe see if he could spot someone out, but not this time. As I mean, Indigo is still going to be able to get a good amount of trading done, right? Able to sit in the Shroud, able to go into the Gwen is immune shield, that bubble. I don't actually know what it's called. I should know, but still, it's not bad. It's technically not great. Actually, Gwen's up a level, but that's mainly just because Akali's catching this wave, so...
Yeah, the other thing to keep track of here is the junglers both having a very little impact, taking their first bases in this. If you're the side of Mint, like, I get that you think this Ivern's like the answer, but Ivern usually wants to play a little bit more of a kind of invasive playstyle, being able to walk into the enemy jungle, take camps, but you're playing with such little wave prio that it's really hard to try to look at those angles while this Hecarim's just getting to free farm up 14 minions or jungle camp XP up on this Ivern right now, and you gotta kind of worry here.
Yeah, it is kind of tough. Ivern hasn't found as much early game success as we usually want to see from this champ, because, I mean, you look at it, Ari can play around this, but we're looking at something mid here, as Yurt is saying, I'm going to make something happen here, forcing Punda in a pretty bad spot, not burning Flash yet. He's waiting for Zenobia to come in. We see that the Charm is going to be landing onto Punda. Punda is trying to buy enough space. The rocks are not down. They're being thrown down. The W, it's Flash, it's dodged. Zenobia is here. She's doing the damage that they need. Yurt, he's low, but he doesn't fall. Now cutting over to the bot lane, we see that Aurel is forced to flash away. They get caught out. That Mantra Q is going to slow him down. There was a lot of action, but nothing ended up happening that time.
Yeah. Summoners getting burned on both sides. Karma having to lose that flash, but getting the Recon Ignite out. Ari having to flash away from that Talia flip and that initial engage. And Punda just playing that so well. Standing and just making them throw ability after ability. We see Akali connect the Shuriken.
The E, I think that tower is going to be the saving grace there. Can't commit too much harder here. As we see right now, based on that play, we do see that Zenobia is able to get the early tempo. She's able to take the grubs here. As we see, Water might be in a bit of a bad spot here. He still has the flash. He still has the cleanse, but Longshot Larry is firing away those bullets. He's firing away those grenades. Aurel is trying to slow him down with the W, but it's not going to be enough good dodge there from the W to make sure that you're not rooted and you're not taking too much more abusing. And so, it ends up being a pretty nice trade there from the side of Mint Cryptic, and I'm just looking at it, and this might be the opportunity they need to get that objective traded back for them.
Yeah, they need to be a little careful here, though. This Jhin is basically and they should catch the Ivern Brush to know they're doing this, and Hecarim is close, but right now, Talia has to shove out that mid-wave.
Yeah, Ari has the first move, so it looks like this dragon is going to be uncontested. We do see some damage in return. Space is able to land the W. We're going to see a little bit more here as the Spirit Rushes pop. Zenobia is here as well. The wall is coming in. Aurel falls. We're seeing a lot of damage, and it's not looking good for the side of Mint Cryptic. It ends up being a 2-for-1. Space is going wide. He's going into enemy territory. It's Yurdmeister who's taking a brunt of the damage. Right now, Space is trying to hide. He is in enemy territory. He's going to find the way. He's forcing that back out, but Water and Zenobia, they find the bird. He's taking the damage. It might be an execute. It is. So not the worst, but still, I'd say, even with that dragon going the side of Mint Cryptic, it's a pretty good side. You get those kills onto Hecarim. That's where you want him to be.
Yeah, Hecarim also, with that pickaxe double longsword, seems to be playing a bit more of a heavy AD build, maybe going for that Eclipse or Sojin Rush. Akali also with the tier 2 boot rush with the burn item, probably playing for a Leandry's rush in this kind of lane, going for that more bruiser style we were talking about. I think that's a really good call here. It's a little worse for your lane matchup into something like that Gwen, but being able to just kind of play to, instead of blowing up one target and trying to go through double shields from the Recon Ivern.
Also, we see a great flash engage followed up by the charm there from 200 years. Punda is low. He still has flash, holding it strong. Zenobia is coming in. She does have the ultimate to use here. Actually, no, it was used in that first fight. Space is taking a lot of damage. It's not going to be enough, though. The charm is not going to bring the horse back in. Wow. I mean, every time I see it, Punda is holding flash like it is the end of the world, right? He says that is the greatest ability of all time. I'm not going to use it no matter what. Ends up using it when you are low HP, obviously, but still. I mean, I'm surprised there wasn't a kill there.
Yeah, Funda playing that right on the edge.
We
But we see
see now-
Akali now engaging the
Yep,
Gwen.
cutting up top, the Ghost is forced out from Just Gank mid. We see that the second R is coming out. Now, Just Gank mid, he has the final charms. The flash to... That didn't dodge a tower shot, it did not. But still, very, very clean, getting those advantages. And this time, not going for a 1-for-1 here for the side of Indigo.
Yeah, and Indigo still holding that TP is going to be able to take this base, and probably if they have to take that walk up, if not, can TP to
Ooh,
match.
the
and it's
Yurd
not
is here. Space is
getting
able to
engaged.
land the W, followed up by the root from Larry. Yurd is here to back him up. He actually gets the kill. Don't think that's optimal, but hey, we'll take it as the symbiotic souls are potentially being completed here. The shove is landing onto this Aria, is followed by a charm. She's a little fast, so she's running a little bit faster. But nothing ends up happening this time. They're just trading. It's kind of hard, especially when you don't have the junglers here to add that extra little amount of damage.
Yeah, both of these champions in the early game really depending, especially in this kind of a ranged matchup, on jungle intervention to really look for these hard kills. And right now, if you're the side of Mint, you have to be really sketched out by this Akali Hecarim. That's a lot of damage and a lot of dive this early in the game right now.
Yep, now cutting up top, that extra damage is being put on the smite down on Just Gank mid. He has the tower to back him up. So it looks like Gwen is forced to base, but look at the priority that we're seeing from the side of Apotheosis, right? I do see Ivern on the map, but right now the control of these grubs, that will be 6 going over if they do not contest this. Yurd's able to land the Q, followed up by a charm, and we see the seismic shove is going to be slowing them down, but Oral is taking a lot of damage, followed up by a 2-man knockup from space. They're trying to buy time. Longshot Larry is here, and he's looking semi-scary. We're seeing that he's going to be landing the ultimates. I think Indigo just tanked all of those. The wall is being placed down by Punda. The grubs go the way of Apotheosis. Space is taking a lot of damage, and he's going to fall. Hecarim goes in. Yurdmeister's taking it all. The fear is coming out. Longshot Larry falls. It's a 3-for-0. It's not looking pretty, and it is all the way of Apotheosis.
Yeah, Apotheosis just going off in that fight. The Talia wall to get the angle off that re-engage. And that entire time, they rotated 5 people up to contest that second set of grubs while leaving this Varus in bot lane. This Varus is only 25 minions away from a finished cult and just 8 plates off that bot lane turret as well. They just lost at every single corner of the map.
They lost in every single corner of the map. They lost the 4v5. And I mean, look at the jungle, right? They gave Zenobia not their one trick, but kind of their one trick, right? Sitting at up almost 30 farm. The Eclipse completed, has shutdowns all across the top side of this Apotheosis map. It's looking scary. It's already a 3k gold lead at 12 minutes. If you are Mint Cryptic, you got to find some ways back into this game because as of now, it's looking really tough.
Yeah, if you're the side of Mint here, I think your Ivern just kind of needs to abandon top lane for what it is right now. This Akali is going to have the run on this Gwen for the foreseeable future. But right now, you need to be focusing on getting this Jhin.
There might be an angle here as we do see that the root is going to land, followed up by the charm, making it easy for the mid laners. 200 years picks up a little bit of funny money for himself, getting the shutdown. But now looking at this bot fight in the river, the Q's going to land. I think they find their angle here. Space gets a 2-man knockup, but remember, Zenobia is really, really strong. You got to be careful here. You're down 40 farm, and I don't care if you are a support jungler. That's still a lot of money, right? Looking at individual gold leads too, it's almost 1,000 up on this Hecarim. That's where you want the gold to be with this comp, right? That is the main carry. And I'm just looking at it, and it's just... I keep saying it, but right now, Apotheosis are playing the map well, they're playing their comp well, and we need to see what the response is going to be.
Yeah, right now with this Hecarim working on that second item, if I had to guess, it's going to be either that Spear of Sojin, but we see Rakan getting engaged on.
Grand entrance is coming out. The charm followed up by another one is going to land. The flash, and it's a 3-man knockup. They get it. The double kill goes the way of Zenobia. That was clean, and that was mean. And they're going to take more as the second dragon of the game goes over to the side of Apotheosis.
Yeah, the Talia shove there just catching everybody. But we see a
Up
Talia
by the
wall now
wall.
as well.
I wanted to give you Time Storm, but it's going to be tough. Honestly, that was almost a flash predict. Punda's taking a lot of damage. Not going to die, though. And I'll let you get back to what you were saying there, Storm. I thought we were going to see a little bit more.
For real. That Talia hitting that 3-man shove into that 3-man onslaught of shadows from the Hecarim. Just, that is what this comp excels at, especially into the side of Mint, Mint having no frontliners able to just absorb any of this engage, just any ability they catch you with is value.
Another thing that I think may be value, I've heard really good things about. Honestly, I was gonna think there might be something. Look at the level advantage that Water has, right? They've left him on an island. He's sitting up at level 10 already. Same level as his mid laner and his jungler. He's a higher level than. Oh, honestly, he's the same level as the solo laners, but still, that's pretty crazy. And he is an 80 carry. But I was gonna talk about it, right? Ari has a bit of an interesting build. She has the damage, but she's got that Roa complete. I've heard a lot of good things about this build. It doesn't have a lot of the damage, but it's really, really tanky, and it's hard. But now cutting over top side, Indigo, why'd you go in there? You know, I don't really know. I didn't get to see all of it, but all I could say is I was a little confused.
Brother was flying a little bit close to that sun, didn't realize how close his R1 would bring him into that turret, and just had to flash out, and then thought he had the angle. Gwen hopping back with that E, the dodge out of the Akali R2 was a big overstep by Indigo there, throwing a shutdown. Obviously, but on the bot side of the map, Water getting that first turret of the game. At least kind of make up for some of the sins of his top laner.
Yeah, I mean, I just think we're looking at it, right? They probably know, as well as we do, that they're in the lead. They're trying to make some plays, and they're feeling a little aggressive, right? This is game one. You can be a little bit looser, right? You want to be feeling out these teams, and I guess, honestly, they were a little too overconfident in their champion. They just didn't get it done. As a great cancel there, stopping the tempo from his support, not letting her go out onto the map, getting all the wards that she wants, but I mean, I kind of want to echo back on it because I do think Roa, with the buffs that it has gotten in this patch, is a decent item. And I think if you could get away with building it, it's not a bad call. I would still say I think on Ari Malignance is still the move. You get a ton of value out of it. You also just get so much flexibility. But looking at this bot lane, we see Indigo is a bit on an island here. Has the brush, but the Great Entrance is going to fall. A charm followed up by another one. Is Indigo using the space, going back in, gets the execute. Dang, as we see it landing, coming out with some flashes. Oral is here, but there's not anybody else. They're low, but there's nobody to provide the damage. Honestly, I didn't think they'd go for a 1-for-1. That is some crazy plays here from that top laner, and you know what? I kind of respect it.
Yeah. Kali is just one of those champs waiting for that shield to come down into that arc. The Q auto R to just pop him into the next world. We see Hecarim catching Gwen on her rotate.
I will say, I do think, especially with the Talia coming in with this Weaver's Wall, you got to be careful here. Getting stunned up by the rocks. It is not. Wait a minute. That was actually way closer than it was. Zenobia using that ultimate just a little bit later than probably she was wanting it to be. But hey, on the opposite side, they get the kill. They also get that mid tower. And as much as LS says it, I think that's one of the best towers to take in the game. So still, we look at it, and the advantages, it's 5K now. It's going their way. Some trades from space. Want to give Storm the time to talk, but there's just been so much action going on.
Yeah, both the side of Mint here, knowing they've got to start playing on triggers here, have to force the action. They have no front line to pray and scale off of here. You're really trying to open up this map and give this Gwen time to come into her items to be able to make an impact in these later fights before this Akali just becomes rampant. Another thing to kind of worries me to see in this game is Hecarim actually going for the Black Cleaver second. With the lead they had, I would have loved to see a little bit more of an aggression here, maybe something like that Yomu's or even the Spear of Sojin. I get the CDR from Cleaver is super nice, but there is no armor in this game you really have to worry about shredding.
Yeah, I probably also, I don't know. This person knows their champion, so maybe they know something we do not. The charm's gonna land. I don't think there's anything actually crazy. The fact that they did that much damage with Roa means this item is broken. That is crazy that you traded, get a full trade, and you're still half-shotting someone. But regardless, I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking it's not a bad call to go Cleaver. I think you can still get that passive shred, but Shojin just gets so much value on Hecarim, I feel, we're having to worry about too much here. Zenobia is starting that dragon, but we see all 5 members are potentially setting up for a dragon fight. There's going to be some action here, Storm, and think we're gonna have to see in a little bit. I see the wall is coming, not happening yet, as Oral is a little bit zoned off here. This might be the angle that they need. The Charm Force out there low, heal coming out as well. That was a dead Karma on my screen. Longshot is throwing the ultimate, trying to buy time. Zenobia is still on this dragon. The Weaver's wall to stop them. It is a great use. Forced to use your dashes to get over. They're in the pit though. The Spirit Rush is coming out. Zenobia's low. You get the dragon, but it's not enough as Ari picks up a kill. The shutdown, the Weavers is enough, and Indigo's going in. I see it every time. They're kind of crazy, setting up so much space in this backline. It's a lot of damage with that R3. They're doing a lot. They're doing everything that they need. Just Mid's barely able to get out with the Ghost. The E, 200 years is still alive on the back end, and it ends up being really a lot closer than I thought. The dragon goes the way. Oh my gosh, sorry, I need a breath there. The dragon goes the way of Apotheosis, but I will say, Mint Cryptic, they fought back hard.
Yes, that is the strong side of this Akali in the top lane, being able to still build these like kind of HP reliant items like the Leandries, but then immediately realizing the lead they have into the comp they're playing into, immediately teching into pen and damage with that Shadow Flame just allows them to skirt the edges of these fights, playing for that burn, playing for multiple procs of the 5-point shurikens into multiple players just to keep ramping Leandries into this whole team, while then just permanently playing to rip this Ivern out of the game.
The Ivern, I feel like, has kind of been non-existent in this game, right? We see this was the counter. This was their answer into the Heck Room. And you know what I'm seeing? This Heck Room is answering right back. Almost up 70 farm at this point in the game. Almost has more farm than the rest of the laners. They have more farm than the entirety of Men Cryptic solo lanes, right? This is good. This is where you want to be. And obviously you did fall going for that dragon. Maybe you could have potentially played that a little bit slower. The wall was used kind of early, but still, I'm seeing the fight back, but it's tough, right? I need this Ivern to get more value. I need him to find his target to put the shields on. And right now, it's the Ari landing a very nice charm, forcing out the cleanse, followed by another charm there from Space. Water's taking a lot of damage, but the support is there. Indigo is going in, buying enough space. Long shot, Larry is gonna fall. That's so much damage coming out from the Akali. The flank is what they needed. Indigo finds the angle. Yerdmeister's gonna pop like a weasel. Indigo going in. The flash is coming out. 200 years running for the hills, but that is all the way of Apotheosis.
Yeah. Meant thinking they had the catch on water there, burning the cleanse, sidestepping that Jin root was massive, baiting the Rakan and everyone else just to step a little too close to the sun, giving Zenobia that angle to pop that Ghost and E in. Another thing to think about in that fight is Hecarim did not ult in that fight, and that went that hard for them. Still, while holding cooldowns.
Yeah,
just
I mean,
hands them this objective on the top side.
Yeah, I mean, the dragon, not the dragon, the Otacon is going the way of Apotheosis. You talk about that fight, I don't even think Hecarim was realistically in that one, right? It was kind of just water absorbing so much pressure. Talia and Karma keeping it alive, and Akali with the TP flank of the century going in, absolutely using and abusing that backline there. This champ is getting so much value. They're building tankier too. Still, that Leandries is getting the burn that they need. And looking at it now, I think maybe it's a Lich Bait coming out. It's a little bit of a weird build item, but when you're sitting at 8 kills, you can kind of do whatever you please.
Yeah. Akali is just one of those champs that can kind of get away with building almost every AP item in the game. If she needs defensive, she gets a ton of value off saving and popping defensive items for cooldown timers, as well as just built everything in her kit. Plays off her raw damage, so she can play with any aggressive item. Being a kind of spell weaver assassin, Lichbane used to be a very core item for her. It's kind of fallen out of favor just due to how important all the pen items became. But after them getting tapped down a little bit, Akali also playing into this Gwen, where she's going to have to play for long rotations of spells. I think it's a really good tech to go for here.
Yeah, and I mean, we just look at the tech that we're seeing, right? Varus has kind of been that unsung. He's kind of been hanging out, right? Taking a lot of pressure, absorbing the blows that are coming out from this Mint Cryptic roster. And I mean, you just look at it, right? It kind of feels like the Indigo show. I feel like all of these fights, we talked about Zenobia as well, but these people, they're diving in. They don't care that they're a siege comp. They're going to make something happen. And they are buying enough space. They are finding the angles that they need. and they're capitalizing on it. And right now, I just don't see an easy response here. This Ahri is strong, right? She's building this really tanky build. The Leandries, the Roa. It's tough to get through her, but when the rest of your team's dead, what's the point?
Yeah, the Ahri is kind of their one saving grace at this point in the game, but there's just so much dive threat she has to try to Spirit Rush away from on top of that. Ooh,
Punda potentially is in a bit of a bad spot here as he did not realize that space was sitting in the wing. Punda is going to fall. There's no way you get around this. The shutdown goes the way of who you want it to be on. Just gank mid. Did use Ghost in that interaction though, but we do see potentially the priority is being traded. The fact that those two players were up in that top lane means that that third dragon, and hey, it's Cloud Soul with a Hecarim, is going to go the way of Apotheosis here.
Yeah, and the other thing to track right now, this Varus sitting on that Claw Fields and fully stacked tier, that Manamune is going to be finished here very soon into the instant upgrade. And then this Varus is going to be 100% online. Also, teching into that Serpent's Fang kind of just turns Ivern, who is already not having a great time in this game, into even a shell of itself, as that item just might as well be the counter to something like Ivern.
I mean, you also get the priority as well. You get some value out of it against this Rakan, right? He's able to get those shields. He has the passive as well. And you just think about it. There's just not a whole lot of easy frontline, right? Rakan is kind of that pseudo frontline like we talked about, but he's not your Nautilus. He's not your Leona. He's not your Rel. He's kind of wanting to be more mobile. He's wanting to find these angles, and this I thought might have been an angle, but with the Gwen still being topside, Akali also moving up, it's scary as we do see, hey, that's a little win, actually, for the side of Apotheosis. I was going to say they're behind, but they're not behind, as they take the blue right from out of this Root Man's grasp.
Yeah, and right now, Tilt kind of hitting the brakes. They still do have a 6,000 gold lead. They should be able to take pretty much any fight they want and still come out positive on it. But right now, obviously just trying to wait on this Dragon Soul timer, if I had to guess, to really force Mint into fighting on their terms, in their vision. So right now, I think we're going to hit kind of a weird stalemate in the game unless someone just gets egregiously caught. But we see it's also super hard for the side of Tilt to just walk into this enemy team's top side. They've got a lot of vision, a lot of Jhin traps. So trying to catch and maybe threaten them to walk in off possibly threatening Baron will be pretty hard here for the next couple minutes.
I'm also just realistically wondering how these side lanes end up actually interacting. I know, Storm, you play both mid and top. I'm just wondering, Akali is super far ahead. Is there ever a chance in this game where Gwen can match her on side just by herself? Or is it kind of just going to be that Akali is able to still hold it, always able to keep priority, and kind of keep those advantages going?
Once Gwen can finish this third item, becomes a lot easier, but we see Zenobia.
Yurd is going for it, forced to flash away, sat on the control ward, and the Gromp is going to go back again. I feel like every time I cut over to this jungle, it is always Zenobia finding everything. This champion is fed out of their mind. They're getting Flame Horizon, Storm. It's not pretty.
Just Ivern things. But if Gwen can finish this death cap, I think Gwen can actually start to stand and fight with this Akali. It is going to be favored for Akali using that Shroud to duck in and out of the auto attacks from the Gwen, make her trying to whiff that snip on the Q, as well as being hypermobile enough that the needlework is super hard to hit multiple procs as well. That is kind of the issue, but if Gwen can bait out Shroud early, with Ghost now available, there is a world Gwen has the ability to just run down this Akali.
Like there's
Gwen is really good into these HP stacking targets.
I was gonna say it felt like a little bit of a tango there in the mid, where it's a little bit of an ARAM at this point, right? All of the members are kind of hovering around the mid lane, except for those top laners, but yeah, it's just a lot of pressure, right? Forcing out some cooldowns that aren't too super long, like that water Yomu's, but he's trying to poke and he's trying to throw the arrows. As the root's not going to land, as well as that charm from the Ahri. They're just pushing on the gas. The W's not landing, but Space is kind of looking. They're trying to find something, but just look how mobile they are. They have the Karma. They have those two Cloud Drakes. it's tough, right? The pressure is all on Mint Cryptic to find an angle, and Apotheosis is not giving it to him right now.
Yeah, the other thing you have to be worried about here is Sasakali's constantly just shoving bot lane and rotating. Even if you look for this engage, if you do not win that fight within probably 3 seconds, that Akali rotate is going to be there. And then you have a whole different backline problem.
We see this might be the engage that they need. Apunda is in a bit of a bad spot. He's gonna pop instantly. Just gank mid. He's going in. He's pulling the trigger. He finds it. The needlework is gonna land. He still has his 5. It's a 2 for 0 at this point, but Indigo is making it tougher as they're able to pick up that kill in response. This is being turned. I thought it was close, but they're saying no, sirree. It ends up being a 2 for 5, and I don't even think they need the Baron. I don't think they need the Cloud Dragon because they're gonna take the Nexus.
Yeah, respawn timers 30 seconds. Obviously, there's not much of a wave here, and health bars are low. But Water maybe being able to step up and just kind of play for this cannon. If I had to guess, they should be able to end on this wave, especially with these little Void Mites spawning. Maybe they'll get the second spawn. Water taking the turret initially.
Taking the turret, trying to keep those minions alive for as long as possible. I think they're going to do it. The fact that Space is the only person who's going to spawn, they're just going to fire away. They're going to get it. And I think this game one, it was clean, it was mean, until Apotheosis are going to take this one and go up 1-0 in this series.
Yeah, this was a super clean game from the side of Tilt. Maybe a little bit of fumbles on the 1v1s and side lanes here and there. But other than that, this felt Tilt gas pedal the entire time. Indigo getting huge value out of this Akali counter pick, maybe showing why after the nerfs this Gwen is not as blindable as people think. And also Zenobia on the Hecarim. I get we're playing Ivern, but 3,500 damage?
I don't think it's enough
Game was still
value.
30 minutes.
Yeah, I think you need that's what is that, like 100 damage a minute at that point? I think it's really low. I think if that is your answer into Hecarim, you need to be banning this champion. Zenobia was able to get too much value, right? She wasn't even the main carry for this team, right? She set up Indigo, Water, doing the most damage. Obviously, it's lethality Varus, but still, right? I think if you're able to get that much value out of blind Hecarim, it needs to go. You're looking at the champions that were banned here from the side of Mint Cryptic. It was the Talon, it was the Nico, and it was the Jarvan. I think Jarvan obviously is scary, but if you're playing champions like Ahri, if you're playing champions like Rakan and Gwen, who cares about Jarvan, right? Who cares? Take Zenobia off of Comfort, because that Comfort allowed the rest of the map to just frolic, right? They did whatever they wanted there.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get in the lobby here soon once people get some moving around. But yeah, that Ivern was not the answer into Hecarim. Don't get me wrong. I think Ivern is a very strong, very competitive, viable champion, but it is super reliant in having strong laners to play around. And on a blue side draft like this, both your solo laners getting counterpicked, your 80 carries blind picking as well. Your only true counter you had in this draft was the Rakan. And I am sorry, but I do not see Rakan being a real answer into Karma. Um, this seems like a little bit of a draft blunder um, for the side of Mint, but we'll see now going into the second game. Does the switching sides for Mint, them opting to go into red side, affect not only this draft, but maybe the priority on who they're going to give draft resources to?
I mean, I think so. It also potentially takes away that Akali on the 4 because I think we kind of talked about Zenobia, but the Akali got so much value, right? Because I thought it was going mid. I didn't think that was going top. I should have thought about it more, but if you're able to flex that champion, it's pretty safe in most lanes. I just know a lot of top laners just don't choose to play it. So that's got to be something that you are really worried about if you're Cryptic. But I think a lot of their problems get resolved when you just ban the horse. I think you take it away maybe instead of that Jarvan like we're talking about. But yeah, it just felt like on blue side, they wanted to just go with these are strong champs that are safe. But just there wasn't a lot of coercion. They gave comfort over to the side of Apotheosis, and it's kind of just curtains.
Yeah, I will say I am interested to see what Tilt does cook up on the blue side here. If they value that 80 carry blind, maybe if they look to still not ban away this Jhin, but instead maybe pick it for themselves. I'm not a super friend of Water to know how he feels with this pool, but we're gonna see getting into it as Tilt is going to be opening up with his first ban on blue side.
I mean, like I said, I already kind of spoke my piece of what champions need to be banned. As we're seeing Talon is going to come out, they say, hey, we do definitely not want to play into it. And technically, this is repeat of what we saw game one. The Nico, it's all the same. And I'm wondering, yep, there it is. Okay, so they adapted. They didn't ban the Jarvan, but it's going to be first pick Varus. So they are running it back. They are putting Water on the champion that did the most damage in the game. And I think it's really solid blind, right? You could play so much around it. And it's a good response.
Yeah, I think if you're Tilt and you want to pick the most flexible first pick in the game, I personally think it is Varus. Varus having numerous builds you can go with, but when we see the response, the issue Varus can have being immobile, having no access to any kind of movement outside of Flash, just increases the value of something like the Jarvan from Mint.
I guess they did do their homework, right? If it is not banned, it is going to be picked up for the side of Zenobia, followed up by Tristana here. It is technically it's mostly an 80 carry. I said a lot of adjectives, but we got to the point there. It is strong. It can pair with a lot of stuff. I know it still has some mid flexibility as we see the Gwen is being hovered by Apotheosis. They said that lane was scary, but hey, they say, hey, you're not going to play Kali into it. We're hanging out as they still think it is strong. It also could potentially be an answer in the jungle still into this Jarvan, right? If Jarvan's going in, it just sets up Gwen to just be snip, snip, snip and away. And I think that's what they're going to lock in.
I would agree. I think Gwen is a really decent pick here to flex. Jarvan being a champion that really relies on one combo in the game, and if Gwen can just dash out of it and then stand on his head, she will just win out in trades. As we also see the Ari respond here, I personally think that gives a little bit more value for this Tristana just to go mid, but Tristana is one of the few answers right now into Varus, being able to catch him using something on the wave and just rocket jumping forward that with that bomb to just throw on his head, but with the blind Ari, Mint now looking at possibly playing the Talia themselves,
I think
and it
Talia's a
will be
really
locked in.
solid answer. Yeah, I mean, you just look at it, right? We saw that matchup. Even though the Ari got ahead, it shuts down a lot of what she's wanting to do. We see it. It's basically, it's not an exact mirror, but that Gwen and the Ari are being switched sides as well as the Talia to follow it up. I think it's good. Kind of shuts them down. Also pairs well with the Jarvan, right? You have a cage. It makes it super easy to land your W. But I mean, we'll have to see what the response is going to be. As it looks like supports are being banned out here, as Braum is the answer, shutting it down, not wanting to be stopped in their tracks. Good answer with the Varus. But what's the response? What's going to be as Camille comes out as that next ban?
Yeah, with trying to throw this Tristana in bot lane, you really want to ban out these like shutdown supports, things like the Braum, the Tom Kench, Herrick, Thresh, these champs that really just want to play with you coming into them can be really important to take away. We also could see Varus now going more for an on-hit build possibly, or even a crit build, because I know that Yuntal Varus has started to catch a little bit of traction and just play to say, hey, this Tristana's going to jump in, and at one item, I think I just do more than you. Just being able to catch her maybe with that chain off her initial engage. We'll see if Mint now double down on dive here and try to give this Jarvan Tristana one more member to come with.
I mean, champions I'm looking at that are still available that are pretty solid. I think I don't know if it's still played as much. I like Poppy. Rel's also another one I was gonna say there, but Alistar is the immediate response into it, right? It's super, super good at shutting down a lot of what Rel wants to do. Also, it's pretty good against Jarvan. It's a good answer. Varus, like we said, can kind of lane with whatever he wants, and it's gonna be okay. But the cow, I think he's probably going to be what has ended up locking in here. They're taking their time. Maybe they're pondering if maybe the Minotaur is not what they're wanting to settle with. But I'm going to expect that that is the lock in here for the side of Apotheosis. But now we have to see, is the Gwen going top? Is the Gwen going in this jungle? What is going to be the answer? think it's going to be a blind top laner. Champions that jump out to me, you're playing into Talia Rel, so it's tough. I don't know. I think you could go a lot of different ways with it, but I just think what is the comfort here if you are the side of Indigo, right? And it's going to be the Ambessa.
Yeah, Mbessa, one of those really strong side laners. Technically, they could double flex these still. Mbessa can play jungle, but as far as when I remember, Indigo is a very comfortable Mbessa player. Um, the other thing to think about here is the champions that really beat down Mbessa. One, the Camille's already out of the game. Yone's already out of the game. Pantheon's out of the game. So your next real answer is Renekton. And do you really want to be R5ing a Gator? But they will anyways.
I think R5 Gator into that comp is not too bad. If I'm not mistaken, Renekton also does pretty well into Gwen, I guess in isolation. Maybe late game it doesn't really matter late game, but still, if you're playing these early skirmishes, I do think Talia, Renekton, Jarvan is such a strong early, like kind of like skirmishy style. And once again, I do kind of like what Mint is using here. It's a little bit more playing it slow, playing out with your engage, and you have that Talia to back you up, but I don't know. I'm not as kind of set as I was game one on which comp is kind of jumping out to me.
I will say these drafts are much more even than last game. My big worry is Mint is on a timer in this game. This Renekton Jarvan, as much as they give good combo targets for the Talia for the Rel, are going to fall off in a game where Mbessa, Gwen, and Varus are all together. The Varus and Mbessa are both two champs that early on can play pretty aggressively. Obviously, the Renekton counter into Mbessa is pretty torturous. Renekton absolutely slams you. But for the side of Mint, if you really can't get a good early game lead off this R5 Renekton and then play these team fights in mid game super well with the Talia Jarvan, this Gwen, once it comes online, will just run through you. And then Bessa then can just sit there and play pick target on this Talia constantly, as well as this Alistar is going to have so much value and just headbutting out one diver, whether that's the Rel engage, getting that away, the Ferromancy pull, getting knocked out, whether it's Renekton Dominus getting popped and immediately popped out. This Alistar might be the star for the side of Tilt if Mint engages are not on point.
I will say a little bit of a devil's advocate and also kind of a supporter of Mint. I think Tristana is kind of bonkers, right? We look at it, that champion scales super well. You can also potentially convert into being kind of that little side lane stinker. Obviously 80 carry Tristana doesn't do it as well, but you have a lot of decent, there's the engage like we talked about, but there's a lot of extra follow-up damage with the Talia, with the Tristana. Maybe there's that anti-synergy, right? Is the Tristana gonna buster shot them all out of the Cataclysm? Maybe, but I like to think the drafts are close. I think there's just a lot of pressure with the top side, especially. The skirmishes favor the way of Mint, and if they play this early game how they need to, they have a pretty good fighting chance. But with that, we're going to go into spectator delay. We're going to wait, and we're going to have to see if the side of Mint is going to be able to bounce back in this series.
I've been treading water for some time, picking up the parts of all my lies. Didn't get to solve it this time. How am I to break apart? Don't tell me why we can't collide. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Don't you feel it? Don't you feel it? On the break of dawn, I'll follow you to carry on. On the break of dawn, follow you to carry on. I've been seeing farther in dark skies, bringing me so violent, not for time. Following my heart, ain't denied. Show you how I play my part. Ghosts in the night don't justify the love we lost, the love we hide. Don't you feel it? Don't you feel it? On the break of dawn, I follow you to carry on. On the break of dawn, I'll follow you to carry on.
I feel the gravity pull and it keeps me awake. I would rather be here, lonely in space. I've made up my mind, I just wanna be free. I live my own.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for game 2 of what is hopefully going to be a riveting series between Mint Cryptic taking over the red side this time with their choice of side versus Apotheosis coming out with a strong game 1 handling that blue side of the map. We see some pretty unique champions, some similar from last game, but it feels like the sides have been switched, right? The Ahri staying on blue, the Talia staying on red, the mid laner switched around. Storm, what we seeing? Anything crazy?
I think we're seeing a lot of the same things we saw from last game. Obviously, Alistar opting into that exhaust, I think, is a really important thing. I feel like Tristana probably should have opted into cleanse here, having to know that exhaust was going to be in the game with Tristana being in it, does make her engage really scary, because if she jumps in without flash and just gets exhausted, it's very easy for this Varus to just turn and kill her on that initial pop. But on the side of Indigo and this Mbessa opting into the grasp, I think, is super important. Obviously, is going to struggle a little bit in this early lane phase into the Renekton. Renekton opting into that Conqueror is going for a little bit more team fight power, a little less lane, but Renekton does naturally just win this lane most times. So maybe he thinks he can just kind of take that trade.
I think it's not a bad trade to go with. I will say also, Indigo, even though the matchup is not good, the level 1 is kind of where it's still playable, right? You technically have a little bit more abilities on your side. It is still playable here. This is your angle. And so Indigo is not worried, is playing aggressive here, but also, like we talked about it, right? The name of the game for this Apotheosis team is it's going to be Pop Goes the Yordle, right? As soon as that Tristana goes in, oh, the level 2 almost landing. The Lance going a little bit wide, but see, now top lane, it has the pressure going into Indigo. The level 2 advantage is going their way, but it's back out here. Looking at it also, we didn't talk about it a lot last game, but jungle pathing. Playing into that volatile lane, the Mbessa Renekton can kind of, obviously Renekton wins it, but if Mbessa gets some early kills, it starts to become a lot scarier, right? Look at.
Yeah, Indigo has been playing this lane really well. Getting tagged by the Renekton level 3, though, is a little unfortunate for the side, but maybe trying to play aggressive with this grasp.
Wasn't as clean as they wanted it to be here. Is actually they're doing a good job of kind of like holding strong, right? All of the potions have been used other than that one biscuit sitting in Indigo's back pocket there. But looking at it now, yeah, we see that the Gwen is moving up. She is a little bit behind on her clear as opposed to this Jarvan, as I do think a lot of it was just going for that early vision, put her a little bit behind. But now looking at this, Alistar going in, not able to get the full cancel that they wanted, but kind of just saying, hey, we're tank supports, we're going to do whatever we please. And now looking at it, we see Jarvan is pressuring. He's sitting on vision. It's not going to be enough as they're pinging it in, but Indigo is too close to the tower. It's going to be hard to find your angles there. And so Indigo is able to just hold strong. But look at the wave. It's not where you want it to be. Oh,
Yeah.
now mid, I think Punda went with the Flash Charm Extravaganza. The W is not landing. 200 years is going to fall. First Blood goes the way of Zenobia going in as the damage is coming out. I want to talk about it, right? That was not what you want to see. That W is not as clean as you need it. Now some pressure is going out. Just gank mid, doing the Renekton things, getting his trades. Been talking too much.
Yeah.
Storm, tell me something.
It's actually going really well for the side of Tilt. This Renekton is actually down farm into the Mbessa. The wave is pushing towards him, though. But your issue right now is you're playing Renekton with very minimal fury, zoned off the wave, so it's going to start decreasing on you. This is very much an angle Indigo can look to play aggressive, but just has to be careful to not get tagged by an empowered Q. And they should be chilling, but right now Indigo's wave is kind of frozen, but it is hard for Renekton to hold this.
Yeah, it feels like it was going good. I also want to note, I'm kind of surprised that the Jarvan kind of just didn't hang out top lane a little bit, because when they went for that gank, the wave was pushing back, like we said, into the Renekton, right? If we're just hanging out here, as we see, maybe the Rel is going to do what the Jarvan was supposed to, as Rel is here, they're pinging it, the Flash, Lance is coming out, forcing out Indigo's Flash as well. They're not going to keep committing as Renekton is using his E on the wave, not something I'd do, but hey, that's okay. But we look at it, right? I think it was a missed opportunity to punish the Mbessa. I think Jarvan should have sat top, being a little bit of a stinker, and just put this Mbessa down.
Yeah, the other issue here is you're playing with this hyper-aggressive Tristana into Varus, and you're just leaving it in no man's land. Varus now up around 10 plus farm, depending on how much of this wave Tristana catches. Like, I get you need to try to bail Renekton out of this kind of mid-game and early lane fiasco here, but at what point are you almost shooting yourself in the foot?
I think that shot has already been fired, right? Look at the gold lead that is already immersed. There hasn't been, I guess there's been one kill that went the way of the Gwen, but like it's already 1.2k. That's pretty sizable, right? I do agree. I think leaving this Tristana on an island is kind of not the way to go. Hey, I know if you're on set, you're fiending right now, to be honest. This is an on-set classic, but I mean, looking at the situation at hand, I think you should have played a lot stronger for this bot side. Maybe if there was the angle, you could play to scope with this Renekton, but the fact that Rel Space is going for that play, it didn't work out for him. And realistically, Indigo's okay to just be like, hey, I'm going to hang out. I'm up 13 farm.
Yeah, Indigo up that amount of farm, being able to also play off that early game Gwen kill. Gwen is one of those champs, if you mess up one skirmish in early game and she
They're
gets a lead
pinging-
on you,
They're
she can
pinging in
suffocate
as we're
you.
looking to see a little bit of early shenanigans here. There is only RE6 on the board. 200 Years also has it, but the wall is not going to be as strong. Yurd falls. The flash is not going to be enough. The Spirit Rush is coming out. We're seeing some damage here. Zenobia lands it. The Conqueror's procced. The Feet of Warfare goes the way of Apotheosis. And look at that. The dragon was yoinked right out from Cryptic's teeth.
Yeah,
That was a long range auto.
and just watching some of these trade patterns between Indigo and
Oh.
Gank mid, this really just feels like, the
Oh.
Renekton playing for that
Okay,
flash,
well.
gets the flash power W, and hits the solo bolo.
I don't care how good you are at your champion, it is kind of hard to deal with a Dominus Renekton flashing on you with W. And I mean, yeah, it's just like, that's kind of what you expect with the Renekton. When he hits 6, it's curtains a little bit for Mbessa, but I mean, yeah, it's an angle to get back into this. I think gold lead aside, it's only 300 that the Renekton has over the Mbessa, but the other side of the map, it's not looking as good. It's not looking as pretty.
No, also Varus already on these double lethality components. We're seeing the lethality Varus come out again here. I think is honestly not a bad look in this game either, with just being able to follow up this RE damage and Mbessa dive. Gwen's going to be ripping through any frontliner, so you really don't need to be the tank killer in this game. So just being able to throw that just a little bit over top kind of damage and pepper these teams before fights should give Water a ton of value. Also being able to tech into items again like that Serpent's Fang, cutting away some of that Jarvan shield. Talia probably also going for an Archangels in the game. This is
That
just
Arch-
one of the bright sides of Varus, is being able to tech pretty much every item.
The charm is going to land here in the mid, followed up by that electrocute proc, but the fact that the Spirit Rush is coming out, it's a little interesting. Maybe they're just wanting to force them out of lane. I don't think a kill is actually going to be the angle here, but they're getting all of their charms. The Flash Q! It's not enough! Punda! That was not pretty. You were feeling a little too overconfident there, but hey, you're building those Roa components. There's not a lot of damage in those components, man.
No, sadly Indigo just missed the Q2 there. Dashes into the powered Renekton W.
Uh-oh.
Gator's smelling it.
And going in with the public execution, trying to buy enough time, but this is, whoa, I think that was a big blunder there, just using your E. I think you just walk at the Mbessa, you wait for her to dash, you follow it up, get your 2. That's a dead general, right? She's dead.
Yeah, Renekton missing that initial slice and dice, not getting the recast there is really hard for Rel. Not realizing he's standing on the ward, just gets the little fucking smack from the Rel, and he goes, oops, I didn't know you could see me.
The Smackarooski of all Smackarooskis there, but I mean, looking at it, Renekton still has the lead. I would have wanted it to be a little bigger, right? For what we're seeing, what we need to be seeing from this Mint Cryptic roster is, I mean, the CS is even, Renekton has the kill, but like the rest of the map, it does help that Punda was doing a little bit of limit testing, but still, like, it's still almost 1.5k, and it kind of feels like it's a lot of passive. Obviously, we did see that fight went the way of Apotheosis in the dragon fight, so it's not bad, but I just need to see a little bit more, especially with how early game focused your comp is.
Yeah, right now we're seeing this Mbessa take their recall. They very possibly have Eclipse finished here, which could be a really big spike for this Grubs fight. Punda getting kind of chunked out by this Talia, the Rel's on the roam. This is a really big fight, and Zenobia could just kind of get jumped on and popped here if they're not careful.
Zenobia looks to be getting popped here. We do see a lot of damage coming out from the side, but a shutdown is going over to the Renekton. It is a 2v4. They have the tower to play around, but it's tough, as it looks like they're able to, I think, get one of those, but I don't think it's going to be enough, as they're going to take it right away. They're fighting back, as we see these 80 carries are trading it out. The barrier is being popped. Tristanza's getting the kill. You don't have enough early damage. It doesn't matter about your components. A Yomu's isn't going to be enough against a lethal tempo Tristana.
Yeah, Varus kind of blundering there. I don't know if he got the empowered on his Q with the W or not, but also whiffing the E with the Tristana jumping forward. I don't know if he thought Trist was just going to take that loss in the chin and jump out and he was going to try to catch her, but just opts to go in and play for the solo kill. And that if you're the Varus here, that hurts a lot. We're also buying a Cole at 11 minutes. Maybe the side of Tilt go, hey, we're fumbling a little bit in this early game. We need to slow the game down, play for these item spikes a little bit harder. That Renekton now sitting at 2-0 with a full Eclipse, still only having about a 600 gold lead on the Invesa when it comes to what's in the inventory right now. But we see the 3-man looking at Punda mid.
I don't think it's going to be enough, as Punda is pretty mobile on the Ahri. But now we do see that the priority of this dragon is going to the side of Cryptic, right? We see all members are moving down. 200 Years got that mid pressure, but now cutting over top side. The Dominus is popped, and that champion is low. It's going to be tough. The public execution buys a lot of time, but I think right now you're just finding your angles. You're finding the moves, and Indigo's doing a good job of kiting it out, but the slice is popped and the dice is needed. Jarvan gets the ultimate now, cutting down to the spot side. Long shot, Larry jumps in, but he's immediately rooted up. Zenobia's getting a double. She might be getting a little bit more as Yurid's up, as 200 Years is trying to buy space, forced to flash away. Zenobia is gonna run him down. The Q is coming out, the snippage is gonna be enough. The fights go the way, and we talk about it. Renekton, he's got the lead. I said you needed more kills. He put him on the board. But on the other side of the map, the fight did not go the same way.
Yeah, and we're starting to see why Renekton is just that counter into Invesa, especially in this early game. Being able to shield break her W is a lot of her survivability in early game. Between that and a clip shield usually are proccing around the same time, so you're getting double value in that 1v1, as well as Renekton just has enough sustain with that Call of the Meek healing to just sit and stand and fight with you. Sadly, on the bot side of that map, Longshot Larry committing that rocket jump forward, not keeping track. He thought just because he dodged Charm that he could go in safely, gets locked up by the Chain of Corruptions. And even though you've got that collector is not saving you from Varus full combo with Ahri standing next to him.
I'm going to be honest. I was going to talk about Tristana, but I'm looking more at the fact that this Indigo guy is in a bit of trouble. The Cataclysm is going to come out, but it's not enough to get the damage done. Just Gank Mid is hanging out with the wave, but we see 200 Years is hanging out on this dive here. But look at 200 Years. Look at Long Shot. He is low. It is just 200 Years who's able to do damage. You got to be careful here. He's able to get the damage. Oral is going to fall. The Minotaur pops. It's going to be enough, and you trade there. Varus gets a kill back on the board. It's a 2-for-1, and Ahri gets not the reset, she's going top! It's a 3v1. Renekton has done a lot of crazy things before in the past. Hey, maybe I'd win this 3v1 as I'm the Renekton man, but not this time. As Ahri, Punda gets himself one and gets a nice amount of money in the pocket.
Yeah, another thing we should keep track of in this game, Ahri going with that Symbiotic Souls for the boot choice here. It became super popular. People like Baus trying to show off the value you can get from just getting early game rotations, taking that top lane tech, and it started to infect a lot of the other roles. AD carries sometimes like Caitlyn have now begun doing it, allowing you to just play these super aggressive trades and just play with those tempo resets, and eventually the Moby boot increased move speed just lets you really unlock this early
See,
game.
the wall is coming out from 200 Years. Ahri does not have Spirit Rush in this position, but the fact that Oral is hanging out makes it so there might be the angle. The Q is going to land. You got to do it. Flash is going to be bouncing up enough time. Oral's in a bad spot now, as it's just the cow and 3 members, but they're in a weird little pickle here. Yurtmeister is forced to flag and drag away, and Longshot Larry was not there to provide the artillery fire. It's not enough, and what I thought was going to be a little bit more of some action ends up being nothing this time.
Yeah, it was really good for the side of Tilt to not commit into trying to kill that Jarvan with Tristana sitting in pit. She would have had a really good angle to just rocket jump over that wall and play for that execute on the Ahri. But as we see, Gwen 5-1, 2 items, 7-stack Dark Seal.
Oh.
If the side of Mint here take and engage and they whiff, this Gwen will eat them alive.
the Gwen will be cutting away at that fat. Will be snipping away as she is attacking Shelly right now with those scissors, but Beard does spot it. So, Storm, one thing I wanted to say, and it was cut off just because of the amount of action we've been seeing, is Tristana opted into Collector this game. Maybe it's just me, but I think a lot of the time when you're playing Tristana, Collector, I think you kind of want a little bit more of that attack speed, kind of going more like that Yun Tall. It's a pretty solid item right now. Obviously, Collector can work, especially if you're wanting that one-shot ability, but look at the amount of sustain and peel that this side of Apotheosis have. I just think playing this kind of standard 80 carry, just having the fact that you have this mobility with your jump is how you should play it. Don't go for this one-shot build. You got to be careful.
Yeah, I think Yuntal is definitely more of her standard first item now these days, but I can see the angle for Collector playing it as something like this lethality Varus. You really are just trying to play for that early lane phase, early component spikes, and trying to put Varus behind. Obviously, the lane phase didn't play out as much as they wanted it to in that favor, but once you've already got that Dirk, you just kind of have to commit to it. But we see Rift Heralds pop mid for the side of Tilt. No one's jumping in just yet, just trying to get some pressure, maybe for this Dragon, but it looks like this Herald just might die on mid-wave.
I think it is going to be dying, as we do see that the shove is going to land, making Punda take a tower shot, but not enough to fully commit and send the gas. I think the Rift Herald was a little bit too early, to be honest. I think you kind of wait for this team to potentially go down and commit to this Dragon. I know you want to pop this mid tower. Mid pressure is the greatest thing of all time, obviously, but when you have just the amount of space that we see Mint Cryptic take over, they're choosing not to opt in. I think it was a bit of a blunder here from the side of Apotheosis.
Yeah, obviously this Renekton just sitting on mid-wave is kind of hard to deal with. Even if Indigo joins, Invessa is not going to have as much value as Renekton can just kind of say, hey, I'm going to stand and wait for Invessa to come in, and as soon as she comes in, I just engage her. She gets burned down and dies, and then we just turn for the 4v5 is probably what they're afraid of there. Outside of Zenobia, there's not a lot of targets that are really adept at dealing with Gator at the moment. So I think they're perfectly fine waiting and just trying to get this Varus to his completed Manamune, get the Leandries on your Ari, and then play to take fights once those spikes have hit.
I think it's not a bad call, as we're seeing Space is going to continue to hang around in this top lane, look to potentially punish this Mbessa here. I think it's not a bad call. You got to look for the angles while you have them, as the Chain of Corruption is going to come out. He does get tagged even with the W landing, but now Indigo is in a bit of a bad spot. It is a 2v2 followed up by a TP coming in from Punda. They're trying to capitalize here. Zenobia is firing away. He doesn't have the charm anymore, but Spirit Rush is going to land. Not able to land the charm that they want. 200 years is here, but I feel like you were a year too late, man. It's not going to be enough value, as I think it ends up being a TP for Nod. You could have potentially pressured that bot lane tower, but unfortunately just not up to the chase. Unfortunately jumped the gun a little bit too early there.
Yeah, maybe the comms there where they were worried that Ari was going to keep going forward with this Leandri's Roa build, can just kind of press art with W key together and just perma come into you because she is tanky enough to take that initial abuse and still get out scot-free. And that's why they had to rip it, just to try to hold the aggression. But right now, this Varus is really close to being online. One barely charged Q taking out about a fifth of Tristana's HP there. These fights are going to get really hard for Mint if they don't get almost spot-on engages.
I will say, looking at that Rift Herald does kind of get me worried about how they're choosing to take their fights if they're Apotheosis here, right? Because I think you want to be realistically playing it. You want to hold your space and kind of force this team to go into, right? You're playing Varus, you're playing the Gwen. You hold your ground really strong, right? Because I think Zenobia obviously doesn't want to just be ghosting in and trying to force this engage, but I think we got to be careful. That is the angle for Mint Cryptic to get back into this. If they are not in position, they find the picks that they need. They can burst pretty fast, especially that Collector Trist. And look at this. This might be a little bit more bursting here as you're dodging out on the W here. Indigo finds the angle. The phase rush is going to make it tough. Flashing away from the public execution is going to keep the Talia alive. But hey, that is a pretty important flash to burn here, and I think Indigo will be happy to take it.
Yeah, and we're starting to see Mbessa hitting that Eclipse, is going to have the second item coming in soon as well. 200 years, Talia is very good against movement-based champions. The issue, though, those rocks are only blocking one dash, and Mbessa has got a lot more than one. So she can force you to bail it out with just a little bit cheeky Q to the side, and then just wait for it to either go down or find the angle getting off of it. She can put a lot of pressure on you. And
Oh,
now,
yeah.
with that Talia flash gone, this public execution can just get ripped on site.
On site indeed. And I mean, we just look at kind of how these games have ended up playing out. There's been a lot of action, and while the kills are even, the gold is still definitely on the side of Apotheosis here. This Gwen sitting up 50 farm, not as bad as it was, but looking at this water, he's popped, he's caught, and right now he is solid like ice. He is in the base, and it is not looking good. 200 years finds the angle, shoving into the Gwen. Is it going to be enough? They go for it. They get the smite that they need, but remember, this is Ruinous. You don't care about the Otacon, you care about those flowers. Oral is taking a lot of damage, but it looks like it's just the bull. Indigo is stunned by the warped ground, trying to buy space. Punda is on the bottom side, actually getting a good amount of the flowers there, so salvaging that play a little bit more than it was, but that's not what you want to be. Water getting caught makes it so it's easy pickings here for the side of Mint Cryptic to take those flowers and get a little bit extra adaptive force and XP there.
Yeah, it looked like Zenobia may have gotten like baited into using Shroud early, which made it really hard for them to step up and really fight with that Talia damage coming over top. So maybe next fight they just have to be really careful about how they play around this Gwen. Punda also sadly dropping the ult passive on the back end of that fight, so not being able to play for any of their resets as well. This Ahri's very strong at this point. With that Roa Leandri's complete, you're tanky, you've got a lot of damage. So this team can sit and fight, obviously, plus the cold lead they're sitting on. Gwen and Ahri can turn this rel into an absolute paperweight.
They can, but I mean, we talk about it, right? If they don't hold the space, if they're having to move into this objective, it's tough, as we do see the two-man lances coming out. Oral is leading the charge. Oh, no, you can't miss your combo. Just Gank Mid is buying enough time. He's able to get it, but look at that Cataclysm. It's a lot. Public Execution is able to land, buy enough space, but the double kill is going to land. It's going to be a lot. Look at Zenobia. They're chopping away. The charms are going to land. It's a quadra kill. Shout out to Freak. And it goes over to Water. That's the fight they need. And Apotheosis are going to be happy with how that one goes.
Yeah, the Jarvan hitting the massive Cataclysm, thinks it looks like the play there, but sadly the Talia and the entire backline is just insta-peeled back by the Mbessa dive, and having to deal with that first, and then it stops becoming Jarvan's Cataclysm and it starts being Gwen's. Gwen doesn't need to immune anything if there's nothing else hitting her. And right now we're starting to see exactly the issue with this. Gwen just comes online like this. If your engages are not on point, pristine, everything hits, Gwen is getting you Shroud up, and she is ripping through your health bar.
Yeah, and I mean, it's tough, right? We just see these fights and they're playing out exactly. I thought even just they didn't have the positioning here. Even with that four-man Cataclysm that we saw from Mr. Yerdmeister there, it's not enough. What is your answer into this Gwen, right? She's going to immune through the Talia. She's going to immune through this Tristana damage. And you see it, maybe it's Renekton, but he's got a lot of other people to worry about. It's really hard here if you are the side of Mint Cryptic. You kind of got to be playing this pick style. You got to find someone out of position. And when you got the mobility of all mobility champions, you got this Ahri, it's tough to lock them down. And just right now, you see, it looks like deja vu. Zenobia is in Yurd's jungle, finding the angles. But look at this. Baron has started. This might be their last-ditch effort here.
Yeah, Rel is going to kind of suss this out. The Ahri's close because of the Symbiotic Soul recall timer. The Gwen is rotating Barons at 5,000.
A TP behind from Indigo. The charm's gonna land. Zenobia finds the angle. This is a Baron that is now over to the side of Apotheosis. Public Execution's gonna land. Nice movement there to get away from the shove. 200 years is up, and you know what else? I think if they have the wave, this is gonna be curtains. Mint Cryptic is still trying to find a way. The Renekton is eating the wave, popping the Dominus to get it as fast as possible. If they can get any of this wave still alive, the cannon dies. That slows them down tremendously. This actually might keep this game alive.
Yeah, Tilt paying towards this bot side, playing possibly for that tier 2 now as Gwen's just going to try to come and rotate her camps.
Oh, as
Renekton's in a
Farsight's
tough spot.
the Farsight spots the Renekton out. Zenobia is up a level. The Chain of Corruption, it might have just been some icing on the cake. Zenobia dominating 8-1-7, sitting up 70 farm against Yurdmeister. I feel like it's been the name of the game this series. I always talk about it. This person is crazy. They are getting it done. They are finding the angles that they need, and they are putting these hyper carry jungles on the map and making them look like butter with how smooth they are.
Yeah, Aurel sniffing out that sneak. Maybe the side of Mint just saying they had to take a flip. They had to play to make some big swing in the game. And Aurel on that Alistar just walking up, sniffing it out, baiting them to kind of step away, and then forcing them to complete walk out of pit around 4K, just letting Gwen walk in and take it for free. Gwen's just out here pinging thanks for the leash, but now we see Bunda getting collapsed on.
I mean, you can't collapse on the Fox, right? She has the Spirit Rush. You know, the Charm does land, but the Flag and Dragon is going to get Yurdmeister out to safety. But I mean, hey, honestly, shout out to Just Gank Mid. They did buy a good amount of time. It's going to make it so this Baron push, they got to set up their waves properly if they're going to want to end this. I will say, though, the gold lead is 14K. I've seen worse. I've seen worse. I mean, you got to find your angle here as Zenobia is probably going to break their keyboard with that base getting canceled, but you know what? They're going to be okay. I mean, yeah, you just look at it and see what's the way back in if you're Cryptic.
Yeah, and Gwen right now just took a full buy. Going and finishing that Zonia's now is just that much more harder to catch. You've got to deal with the W. You've got to deal with Zonia's timers. And right now, Jarvan is kind of just playing in the goodwill pick basket right now. Just sitting on those 2 bruiser items, has no real kill threat here. Varus opting for the Spear of Sojin in his build as well.
I think it's
Saying,
not
I don't
too
need
bad,
a
and I don't.
defensive item.
My God,
Holy water.
Okay, well, that is a lot of damage coming out. Punda is finding the angle that they need onto 200 years. Space is here, flashing in with the gravity. It's not enough, as Punda's going to be able to walk this one out with the W. The Foxfires are going to give them the move speed that they need. Obviously, Punda's in a bit of a bad space, but look at the rest of their team. They're eating away. Punda's running for the hills, but I think she's got a team she's going to be able to find. 200 years is able to get a shutdown.
Oh.
Not too bad, but look at the
Gwen
damage
is
that's being
5
done to this
down.
base.
Yeah, right. Game's really cooked on this Gwen champion.
I mean, yeah, for sure, but also, hey, if I was 8-1-7, I'd be hoping my champion would be doing this much. As this champion is accelerated, she has the elixir of sorcery, right? She doesn't even need those full items at this point. This is kind of a last defense. The Baron has fallen, so it might be hard to siege into this Tristana, into this Talia. But you're finding the angles. The Chain of Corruption is not gonna land, but those Qs are still gonna be popping away. It's a 5v4. Maybe this is your angle. The Ari's dead. Because right now you're on borrowed time. You gotta find an angle, and you gotta find it now, because right now you're running out of time, and this is the snap engage that they want. Longshot Larry is trying to do some damage. The exhaust is coming out. Space is trying to buy space. The public execution onto Yurt is making it tough. Zenobia is going in. The ghost is gonna pop. The buster shot getting the Zenobia knocked into her team. I don't think that's what she meant by that, but yeah, the fight's not going their way. Punda's Spirit Rush it away, and it's not what they need. The towers are gonna fall. The Dominus is popped from the Renekton. He's buying as much time as he can, but it's not enough. Another Chain of Corruption. That item's too soon. We see it once, we're gonna see it twice as Tilt Esports Apotheosis goes up 2-0 in this series.
Yeah, Zenobia saying you can ban my Hecarim, you can ban my Talon. At the end of the day, I am going to run this game no matter what. Water also saying, hey, I don't need the counter pick with it. I'll just take it first and blast you with this Varus again. 2 games in a row now, this Varus has put out the most damage by a long shot. The 38,000 coming out from Varus compared to long shots Tristana with only 9. If you're going into this game 3 draft, I think you need to take a breath and relax. And if you don't have an answer into this lethality Varus, you better either find one or you better ban it.
I mean, I don't know if we mentioned this, but looking at the damage spread, Yurdmeister, hey, he did a little more damage than he did last time, but only doing 6k damage on the Jarvan. They were shut down, right? I will say, Water doing almost 40k damage on this lethality Varus, just able to free fire. I think looking at what is being banned, it's got to be considered, right? I just feel like I talk about that a lot with all of their champions here. They're all scary, right? The Hecarim has to be banned. The Nico has to be banned. Looks like Varus now has to be banned as well. I just I'm just wondering what the answer is, because Tristana only doing 10k damage. Obviously, I feel like there's angles where Longshot Larry could have played it a little cleaner, right? Obviously, he did get that solo kill, but being a little less trigger happy on the jump in, trying to play it slow is your best bet. But the fact that Gwen got that early lead, right? I think it just kind of started cascading after that mid gank. It's tough, and I do agree. I think if you are the side of Mint Cryptic, you need to take a breather. You need to take a second, recoup how you're going to be going about this draft, because you're fighting an uphill battle right now, right? And if you're Sophocles, that Sisyphus, not Sophocles, I'm getting my Greek mythos mixed up. That boulder's starting to slip, and you're gonna have to resettle down. You're gonna have to get your foundation set if you're gonna want to push this boulder to the top.
Yeah, Mint opting to go back to blue side for game 1 or game 3 here. I'm almost curious to see if maybe this is they're gonna first pick away the Varus. If they don't, you already kind of tried counter picking it with the Tristana, did not go well. So if that is just you don't have an answer into it, I think you just have to drop this Talon ban and get away some of this first round priority champions. I get that the Nico and the Hecker are both scary. And what else have they banned? They banned away the Jarvan the last time on blue side. I think they tried picking the most anti-Varus comp they could, and then Varus still just ran the game on them. So
Yeah.
maybe rotating that Varus ban into this first round, drop the Talon or drop the Nico, and just hope they don't take it first round might have to be the angle they look for.
Yeah, I kind of think that is the way you have to go about it. I'm just looking at it, and I think if you aren't first picking Varus, what's the point? Like, what is going to be your goal here? Because it's tough from this point on, right? You are playing the uphill battle. You have so many champions you have to worry about that you have seen that this Tilt Esports roster is strong on. And I'm just thinking, what is going to be their angle? What's going to be their answer? I mean, it's tough. Like, I'm just thinking, there's a lot of different options here. As we're just waiting a second, we're getting into that potential lobby, trying to find our angle back into this. It's tough. And I don't know. You got to regroup. You got to take some deep breaths. I always say, do a couple toe touches, get up from your chair, do a quick little bit of walk arounds, right? Find the way. As yeah, I just think you're against the edge right now. And what's going to be your response?
Yeah, I think you have to, if you don't have a first pick Varus angle here on blue side, I think it has to be on this ban block. Um, 2 games in a row, Water has absolutely ran the game on it. Um, it's such a versatile champion. If you don't first pick it here and you let it through and it is the thing that kills you in game 3 again, um, get a coach. I don't know. It's
Just
kind
ball
of
out.
the you don't know you're crazy because no one that thinks they're crazy is actually crazy. But you can
I
only
was
walk into the same door that's not a door.
Look, I was crazy once, so I know what they're feeling. I know what is on the line. So there are a lot of places. And hey, there is the angle they can get this reverse sweep. If they get this reverse sweep, they're gonna be feeling pretty awesome. It feels good to reverse sweep. It's awesome, but just with the way this momentum has been facing, I really need to see a draft kingdom if they kind of want to be sitting at that angle, if they want to find a ways back into this game, because like we said, you're playing at it, and what are you going to drop ban wise? Are you dropping Talon? Like, I don't know, but we're in the draft, so we're gonna see. And they are banning
And the
both.
talent is staying on the board. This
Yeah,
almost would have to tell me Mint's looking at that first pick Varus. If they're not, I'm gonna go wash my hands because something's filthy is going on here.
I think they first pick Varus. Nico is the champion that they choose to drop, as they're going to be banning Gwen away. It is 3 jungle bans. If you are Zenobia, you are feeling pretty proud of yourself. Huh. Of all the of all the picks, that was not up there, and they're just giving away Varus.
We
Huh.
are NA first picking Jace. Oh boy.
That is crazy.
Going through op.gg's quick, I don't know if this is much of a flex. If you're the side of Mint, obviously this Varus just gets picked again. From the side of Tilt Apotheosis, what do you prep this Jace to be mid or top is your issue here. And going into this game again, Water has put up 2 monster performances on this Varus. Indigo most likely getting a counter pick match again, but just insta opting into the Cassante. Oh, the Jax actually.
As I mean, over on the other side, we
May
do see Sivir. Is that response into the Varus this time? They've tried the Tristana. They played the Jhin, and they're going to say, hey, we're going to go with Sivir. I think, do we consider that a good pairing with Jace? I don't really know. I think the first pick, Jace, kind of already puts you on the back burner in this draft. Maybe you're just wanting to say, hey, I'm feeling crazy. I'm feeling like I need to win this game fast. And maybe that's their choice for going Jace. It has that flexibility sometimes. I just think there are a lot of champions that can kind of shut it down. And I think you can go a lot of ways, but Amumu does pair pretty well with it, especially just having that AP source with that AD mid laner potentially, as Alistar is going to be locked in. It is the run back here for the side of Apotheosis on their bot lane. They're just saying, hey, we're going to knock you back. It's also a good answer into Sivir.
Yeah,
Ooh.
Alistar is one of those just kind of perma picks into Sivir, but we do see it get swapped out for the Lilia on 3. Lilia does kind of skirmish well into the Amumu. The team fights do get a little hard, as you can just get locked up if you're not the one with the gold lead and then kind of just blown up by this Jason Sivir.
I
But now we see the side of Tilt banning away Karma. If they really want to pick this Alistar on 4 again, you maybe look at just taking away Silas, just not allowing him to have access to these high impact ults.
I think it's not a bad option, as we're seeing now Karma and Seraphine are taken away. Pretty good pairings, especially with this front line Amumu, as well as the mobility that comes with Sivir's ultimate there. But I will say, I want to echo back on what you were saying. We talked about it. If Lilia doesn't have the gold lead, Storm, if we've been watching the same series, Zenobia has been putting on a performance, has gotten these gold leads, even if it isn't with the kills. Alistar, it didn't even matter if you pick it on 3 because it's still available on the 4. As look at that, I'm surprised they didn't take it away, as they're choosing to ban out Punda's really versatile champions here, the Nico and that Talia. I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah, with the Alistar pick here, I don't know 200 years that well, but if you've got a bit of a Silas in your back pocket, this is not a bad game for it. The Lilia does make it a little hard, but being able to steal chains from Varus, being able to take Alistar all, sure you're blind picking, which does kind of suck, but it's definitely still playable. As we see the Gragas picks coming in, quite possibly. So that means this could be Jace mid.
It could be Jace mid. There is technically the option of maybe an Amumu support question mark, but like there's a lot of flexibility still from the side of this Mint Cryptic roster. Maybe they are cooking with more seasoning than we thought they were, as the Fiddler is on the table of all the champions. I think Fiddle is he's up there. I think it's a lot of AP. I mean, you got Jason Sivir to hold down that AD side for you, but is it the Vladimir? I think is going to be strong, as that might be the answer. It's a lot of AP from these sides, but still. Huh. As Ari is
Yeah,
picked P5 or R5.
yeah, I think if you're gonna play Jace in North America, I at least can semi-glaze it going mid. Maybe just trying to play for a little bit of draft stock here to bait Tilt into taking unfavorable topside, which they kind of get away with them blinding the Jacks, is at least somewhat of a saving grace here. But we see the R5 Ari come out. Jace, not very good at dealing with Ari, as a lot of Jace's initial engagement is pretty predictable, and as soon as he pops that to the skies, Ari is just going to charm him out of it. So I think your ability to kill in this lane's a lot harder unless a Mumu gets some good rotations. I'd also be curious to see if we maybe see that Symbiotic Souls build maybe onto the Gragas here, and maybe the Gragas looks to get some impact in the other parts of the map. Because for these first games, it's seeming like Indigo's kind of had the number, even in the last game with that counter pick. Sure, Indigo did fall behind a little bit in the early game, but towards the better half, once they hit 2 items, Indigo was just getting so much value off his dives, even with that low gold income that they had.
I, what was I gonna say? I will say, just looking at how it is played, I feel like if you are Jace, you kind of have to play the first strike build. If you're playing into Ari, you kind of don't worry about your reach for this guy. Like I'm not Woody from Toy Story, but you kind of get the point. You just got to be playing more. So, hey, I'm going to be sitting in fog. I'm going to just be throwing my QE on you and getting first strike value. Going full lethality is maybe the way to go. I know there's Alistar, but you got other ways to deal with him, as it's actually a Mumu in the jungle. You know that's fiddle support in this game.
We are cooking, I guess. I don't know what's going on.
Hey, if
I
it's your
don't know the world fiddle support works here. I feel like Alistar just absolutely pops you up out of drain and you die, but maybe they know something we don't.
My only guess to it is if you have the hands, you can fear Alistar out of his charge, and with W, that is kind of the only saving grace I have with it. Because you got to be just on top of things, right? We're looking at just a decent amount of peel back, right? It's almost the exact same team comp we saw from game 1 from the side of Apotheosis. I was going to say who I favor in this draft, but I feel like everybody and their mother knows who I would favor in this draft. I mean, Storm, you got any closing remarks before we go to break?
I this is gonna be an interesting game. I'm very curious to know if this is like a scrim lane they've played before, and maybe the Sivir on the Hunt with Fiddler is just a nuts combo that us Emerald League players don't know yet. But I'm very interested to see how this plays out.
I am too, and I think we're going to be seeing it in just a second as we're going to cut to break, be back for what maybe is the beginning of a revolution here for the side of Mint, or are we going to see Apotheosis put that final nail in the coffin? Stay tuned, we're going to find out in just a bit.
Life in a new galaxy. I wanna be weightless in the silence of the night sky. I wanna free fall into nothing at all. I'm taking the moment, starting all over. I wanna be free and live my own life in a new galaxy. inside the pain. Maybe I should stay in the dark after you had it to a place so far away. Now all those crazy thoughts are going through my mind. A part of me I can't escape. Our love was so sublime. It doesn't make no sense if you're not here again. If the only one who's gone will be there for me to say, we'll come back to the
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to. Yes, you see it here on my screen. It's Fiddlesticks support here in Game 3 of Warden semifinals as Mint Cryptic are pulling out the pocket pick of all pocket picks as they're trying to fight with the money on the line here. We see some early trade in mid lane, but nothing's going to actually come from it. Not able to get that electrocute proc. Punda, what are you doing? But still, what other than the fact that there is a surprise party down in the bot lane storm, are we looking at? What is potentially going to be the play? What are these teams looking for?
I think Aurel sticking with the exhaust in this game will be an interesting take. It'll get a lot of value in the later stages of the game if this Fiddlesticks gets ahead, but I think it's going to make this early lane phase a lot harder as they won't have the heal cut to really just burn through this Fiddlesticks that's trying to just play for a drain. Um, if you're the side of Mint here, I almost wonder if you have to path topside. I know Gragas into Jax is this like infamous Zeus counter pick, but it's not as much of it's a counter pick that smashes you in lane as much as it purely just to shut down what Jax wants to do. So I think maybe you play to set this Jax behind so that Gragas can actually play as aggressive as it wants to, and that's your angle in this game, and just letting the Sivir play for its late game wave clear and then maybe play for late game item spikes. But if this Jax can't get a lead, it'll get really hard for the side of Mint.
Are realistically going to be playing out. Sorry, I was mute for a second. Thinking drink, but you look at it and like, hey, Fiddlesticks is getting that early prio. He does have that range advantage over the headbutt only Alistar at this point, right? The champion kind of needs all of their abilities to realistically be a bit of a menace. But yeah, I think the fact that they were there early, it kind of is forcing the Alistar and the Varus to concede a little bit of this lane. But look at the junglers. They're pathing down. They're wanting to affect this lane, right? They see the weird champion down there. They got to be cautious. As really good trade there from Punda, getting full value out of the kit. The electrocute as well. I was wanting to see a little bit more from that first pick, Jace, but Ari, oh, pardon me, is a good neutralizer and is able to get good value here and is already kind of getting a little bit of a sizable lead.
Yeah, just gank mid, getting a lot of good trades on this Gragas into Indigo. Indigo eating a lot of this early chunk down to just 200 HP now. This is very dangerous. Gank mid is low on mana, but could look for a cheeky all-in. Thankfully, doesn't have to worry about the Amumu, though.
Yeah, a cheeky all-in is potentially on the horizon here, but I will say, just the fact that you don't have the mana here kind of favors Indigo here. I mean, he doesn't have lethal tempo, he doesn't have Conquer, he's going with that grass build, and I'm kind of thinking to myself, how often are you getting grass procs against the Gragas, right? But still, you see it, he's able to get priority over this lane. I think this could be a potential angle for him to try to find a reset. But looking at it here, we see that Zenobia is a little bit ahead of the charge. Amumu is trying to find that Scuttle Crab, realizing, hey, the Lily already got here. And looking at this, we see it. She's here. She's finding the angle. 200 years, pretty chunked. The lane not in a fantastic spot. That's a double Scuttle. Ooh.
Ooh, brother, ew.
Ooh,
Yeah, Lilia is just ripping through the jungle. That is the highlight of this champion. Its clear speed is immaculate. Jax also getting the bounce to support his jungler there is super important, being able to get that ward down. Scout this Amumu's pathing. They know Amumu can't be on this top side as they've now got all the camp timers. And now we see Lilia already with that 8 CS lead. Jax going to have the better base here once he
Ooh, good
this
trades.
next
They're
wave.
forcing the
Bunda,
out. I'm sorry.
uh,
You were looking so good, and then all of a sudden it just went away. I don't know. What was that? What was that?
that Ari might not have had ult, but it might have had wings. Sadly, they were Icarus is flying a little too close to the sun there. But Bunda maybe just saying, hey, fuck it, I'm feeling myself. I'm just gonna kind of play for me. If we even mess up this early game, they've played their mid game super clean, and just saying, hey, maybe he thought he'd maybe get the execute and just wanted a faster reset. Sadly, 200 years was able to get the kill.
I will say Punda on this Ari, you could call him a lot of things, but a limit tester is one of them as well. As we're seeing, Yerdmeister is hanging out looking for the angle. We see that the Q is going to land. Punda, you don't have flash. Jace now has 2 kills, and you want to talk about it. Hey, man, Jace, the first pick value is strong with it. I feel like every time I cut away, I'm always just seeing something a little too crazy. As Indigo is in a bit of a bad spot here. Gragas can kind of, oh, 6 is popped. It's going to keep him alive, and that tower is still ramped. That's a lot of damage. If I'm crazy, I go in, but not that. I was crazy once, so I'm not crazy anymore. So we see it, and I guess they still have the priority here, even with it. Water and Aurel are moving over. Storm, I want to say, hey, Jace first pick, it always gets value, able to get those leads. He is 2-0, and it's just all because of how strong Jace is as a champion.
Yeah, Jace just will always be that early game kind of monster. Obviously, its issue turns into whether you can translate an early game lead into the late game here. Already getting that tier stacking, getting the 2 kills because of the Moo intervention here. But on the side of Tilt, you have to be careful. This Varus already has its coal, already has tier, so it's got its stacking components, so it's fine just to sit in lane and AFK clear with the Sivir for a while. Sivir also opting into the cold this game. But Jax starting to kind of even out on these little short trades, opting into Sheen first, as
And
Gragas is now kind of playing component yard sale.
Component yard sale, but look at this. Zenobia has the advantage here. Also has the level 6. 2 are drowsy, 2 are feeling a little snoozing. We see that the 2-man body slam is going to come out, but look at this. Space is here. The Spittler is here. He's on the hunt. He finds the angle, and it doesn't go the way that they want there. It ends up being a 2-for-1. This Jace has 3 kills, and I mean, I don't want to say a lot of this is just because Punda was being evil, but Punda, with that blunder, they're getting punished for it.
Yeah, and a little bit of a miscommunication there, not knowing that the Fiddle was off the map there. Indigo and Punda just playing super far forward and just going into that Fiddle drain. Fiddle also has that level 6 now. We may start to see Larry pop on the hunt with this Fiddle ult and just sprint it to keep it on top of this Varus. That is a real reality they have to worry about. But on the bright side, Aurel spotting that timer, realizes the threat his Varus could be in, is here, can just play to headbutt the Fiddle away in a lot of these fights. And right now, I think the Varus and Alistar are fine just being the neutralizer of this lane.
I think they're chill to hang out, and I mean, you do look at it, right? Jax did get himself a little bit of a kill. He does have that late game side lane threat. I mean, Jace is already almost has that Youmuu's completed, right? Honestly, I know you talked about it, Jace kind of being that early game threat. I'm actually going to kind of disagree in a little bit. It's strong. Obviously, it's a ranged AD champion, but I think this champion is now kind of a bit of a mid-game / late-game menace, especially when you have those early items. You are one-shotting anybody if you have the advantage, right? You play to be on the side. You play to be kind of a gnat in a lot of ways, and your side lane pressure is really strong, and obviously there's a Jax, but I'm just thinking, hey, the fact he's 3-0, I'm a little worried kind of about how if this game goes late for the side of Apotheosis.
Yeah, and especially with them having the tools they have, the Fiddle ult, the Amumu ult, the Gragas ult. Oh,
Mr. Yurt, Arl actually just cleansed literally everything and the kitchen sink, but Fiddler is going in. He's just knocked back right away.
Headbutted out.
Storm, I feel like you called it,
Oh!
but oh, we see the Amumu ult
Pharrell.
just coming out. Water's able to get some kills, but look at this. No, no, no. 200 years is here, but not going to be enough.
Ari's
Is
on the
the
rotate.
flash is going to be enough. A triple kill going the way of water. I feel like that's the name of a movie or something, but I mean, looking at it, right? The fact that Water gets a triple kill off of what was initially a Yurdmeister gank. The Fiddle goes in, immediately exhausted, immediately headbutted. Huh. I mean, well, I mean, we called it a little bit there of how these comps interact.
B4 counterpick, by the way, brother.
It was
Yeah,
B5.
that is a little bit of the issue, and we're starting to see just the extreme comfort from Water being on this Varus. Also, a key moment of that fight, Arel with the flash pulverized to get the double knockup on not only, I want to say it was the Amumu, but also catching the Sivir as well. Space also just walks up the Indigo, Fear under the tower into the Gragas cask, and he just insta-pops. Holy.
Hey, the way to outplay Counter-Strike is never actually strike it. As we see, Longshot Larry is knocked up here, forced to burn the flash, but we see that Zenobia is also on the hunt. The fact that Arel is tanking means it's not even going to be close. Zenobia picks up another one, already sitting up 23 farm. That's where you want to be as Lilia, but hey, Space is helping out with these grubs. You got a Jax, so that's something. That's not too bad. Oh, wait, no. You got a Jace. I got my champions mixed up there. Whoopsies.
Brother's brain might be in the blender a little bit, but so is this Sivir. Varus going to be finishing that Youmu's here soon. 32 stacks left on that Cole. Varus is going to be coming online a hell of a lot sooner than this Sivir. Just the item completions are cheaper. Indigo starting to pick up some plates in topside. Obviously not where he wants to be. Down about 800-ish gold on this Gragas, and the Amumu and the Fiddle are on top side. Oh, nope, it's a effigy, and I'm being trolled by minimap.
It happens.
But
to
Indigo,
the
good
best of us.
sidestep on the bandage.
But we're looking at it. Indigo is under a lot of pressure here. Kind of forced to kind of take the brunt of these casks, take a brunt of the barrels that are coming out from the Gragas, but even with that effigy making it look a little bit like this Fiddlesticks is all over the map. I'm seeing 3 of them. It's crazy, but I think, yeah, I mean, hey, this Aftershock Fiddle going full tank, he's playing for the fear. And, I mean, it can work. I mean, but also looking at the pressure, we see Zenobia is on the hunt. The Fiddle is in the pit, but it's not really Fiddle. Indigo pops the ultimate, but there is not a lot of mana to work with. Not going too far in, making sure that they do not get accidentally comboed back into that tower. But look at this. Zenobia has complete control. Yurdmeister is kind of having to succumb to the fact that his laners aren't super, super strong at the moment other than this Jace, but Jace is bot. And look at that. Scuttle's gone.
Yeah, Zenobia, even with some early game blunders from the solo laners,
Oh, man.
still up 30 farm on this Amumu after one bad fight. Indigo getting traded on under his own
damage
tower.
coming out. We see that 200 Years is popping the abilities, but we see now that Zenobia is potentially caught in a bit of a bad spot. Longshot Larry is holding down the fort. He's not going to have enough damage here. The Fiddle comes out. He's stunned instantly. There's not a lot of damage coming out from this guy. We see 200 Years is trying to weave it in. Zenobia gets the triumph. It's going to be enough, but no, it's not this time. Flash forward from Water, able to get 5 kills all on his own. Some Indigo is trading into just gank mid, but look at this. The sad mummy is going to make it so that Indigo sad. Flash forward. The cask away. It's looking scary. Indigo's trying to buy enough space, but it's not enough. The second bandage is going to hit the tower, and we do see now that this kill does go over to the side of Mint Cryptic.
Yeah, Indigo just trying to outplay that a little bit too hard. Does get the flash in the cask out of the Gragas, but sadly does still fall to the Amumu. But it's a small price to pay for the absolute slaughter the rest of Tilt is throwing on the other side of the map. This Varus now 5-0-2, full completed Manamune. full completed Yomus. No boots, but also 5 stacks away from finishing Cole as well. If you're Tilt, this is exactly where we want to be. Now, Ari possibly finding the rotate on the Gragas, finds a charm, and gets the solo Bola with the Spirit Rush under the turret.
Makes it look too
Punda.
easy, to be honest. As we see, Space is doing something. Damage is not that something, but he is doing something. He's trying to buy enough space, make it so it's a little bit harder to go for it. He's hitting the gritty there a little bit. He's letting us know who's boss is. We do see now it is just kind of trading waves back and forth. Fiddlesticks is trying to find some stuff around the map, and he's getting some answers. I feel like most of those answers are not in this bot lane, though, unfortunately. Varus is up a lot of kills. He's up a lot of gold. And right now, even though you are trading onto this Alistar, the fact that you're... Storm, I just hit X for the first time, and I'm looking at the gold lead that this Varus has. Can you repeat that number for me, please?
Oh, on the side of Sivir, we are at 4,800 gold. Varus at 7,600 gold. This Varus could almost smack her over the head with Manamune, drop it, and still be beating her over the head with a gold lead.
See, now Zenobia is potentially caught out the... Oh. Wait, actually, the cast was good. I was going to say that was kind of a bit of a blunder, but they're slowing him down, and 200 Years is able to find another angle here. That's a lot of gold where you want it to be. The bandage toss is going to land. Indigo's forced to flash out. The flash curse is going to land. This could be the angle that they need, but Punda has the space to get out. The Spirit Rush is not up, though. 200 Years is continuously on the hunt. The charm is going to be the only defense there. It's going to land. So they're able to get out this time, but look at the damage that's being done on the other side of the map. 200 Years, you're going in! You're taking a lot of damage! But it's not going to be for naught. Oh my god, it actually almost was a little bit silly there. But, I mean, look at the damage that's done on the bot side of the map, right? We talk about that gold lead. This Varus is up 3.5k alone. His gold lead surmounts the actual gold lead of the entire game. It is nuts.
Yeah, right now, that's a devious variant to be dealing with in this game right now, as that Manamune is a little over 100 stacks away from being finished. The Varus rotating in mid after getting that bot turret. If they weren't feeling the pressure from Varus before, they're going to now with him being able to rotate to every one of these objectives. Alistar, with just the lead they have, has that locket, should be able to force this Fiddlesticks away from any like big engage it wants to look for. But we see the Trailblazer rush from the Fiddle. I don't play support, but I've never once heard a support say this item's actually good after it got its like 1 week in fame and then immediately sent to the nerf block.
Yeah.
But
I will say we're talking a lot about this Varus. This Jace is nothing to sneeze at, right? He is sitting almost 2.5k up, and he's going to be a little bit more gold in his pocket because that's a lot of damage, right? There is the angle. You could play for these side lane picks, but look at it here. This mid lane tower is under a lot of pressure. It's kind of the lethality versus the lethality here. Is right now it's a lot. Honestly, I was going to say it's a lot. It's all on this Jace that has the gold lead. He's kind of keeping them afloat, and even when you are up 2.5k, actually no, just 2k, so you're still, your team is down a lot of gold. You're probably like, what's going on? What's the shenanigans that's happening? And the shenanigans is that Varus.
yeah, and your issue here is Varus having the gold lead, Jace having the gold lead. Yes, don't get me wrong, both very big carries in the game. Punda's ripping Spirit Rush from base to try to get on this rotate.
Think it's gonna be enough as the cask. It doesn't matter. It is for naught as the spear's gonna come out, but where's the rest of it? You know, where's the remaining follow-up? It's just Jace is not gonna commit too hard on an Alistar of all champs, right? Of all the champs to stack armor, it's the Alistar, right? So I just think you gotta look at what is gonna be your angles, what is gonna be your options, because late game, if the Jace can find picks, he's a menace, right? It's kind of, they have to play different styles, because Jace, they're actually basically at the same items. Jace is up, I believe. Actually, no. Varus is still up gold. Probably because he went with that coal, but how much gold is the Varus sitting on? A decent amount. Yeah, it's tough. You just got to play around this Jace. That's your only way.
Yeah, Varus still has about 1,000 gold lead on this Jace. The one thing that I have to keep in mind in this game, I was trying to get to it before Lilia decided to have a personal vendetta with this Gragas is Jace may have all the gold and Varus may have all the gold in this game, but it is infinitely harder for them to deal with this Varus than it is for them to deal with Jace. Jace kind of has to play that in-your-face game to access all of his damage, and when you have to do that, you are playing into getting tagged by Lilia with the sleep. You're having to deal with Alistar with the exhaust, whereas there is a lot less tools on the side of Mint to deal with this Varus. Varus also could very easily go into a spell shield item here, and as soon as I say it, he buys it. As
Yeah,
long as he's able to get rid of one of those tools, then this game just gets so much harder for the side of Mint.
3 items complete for this Varus at 20 minutes. That's pretty nice if you are an 80 carry, but I mean, just looking at the situation at hand, look, he just clears the wave instantly. Oh, the Chain of Corruption not going to land. That's a good bit of the kit, but I also wanted to say Gragas, his gold lead is nothing to scoff at either, right? He's sitting at about 1.5 on his Ownsome. That's a good amount, right? A Q is nothing to sneeze at, right? He's building primarily for this kind of like AP, kind of like I'm going to be mobile, I'm going to be obnoxious type build. It's the way to go. You find angles, and speaking of angle, Indigo, I feel like every time I look over, you're getting hit by a bandage toss, and we see it here, we see it now. He is suiciding for this tower, and he's not even going to get it. Are we going to see a play on the other side of the map when they try to go for this? 200 Years gets a kill, and they're rushing Otacon.
Yeah, that is their biggest issue right now. Obviously, Jace with that gate, being able to give the move speed, they might be able to actually respond and try to contest this.
This is
But
your
the
angle.
Amumu is
If
so far
I'm-
away.
Oh, that is so
Well.
much damage. Jace is going in. The double kill. Wait, this might actually be what they want. They bit off more than they could shoot. Jace does too much damage. It's just Punda alive. He's here. Surprise. As Punda is forced to flash away. The Ignite's ticking away, but that was a blunder there. And this Jace sitting at 11, 1, and 2. He has got all the money in his pocket. We talk about range, and Jace is one of the kings of it. We might have a game on our hands here soon.
Yeah, Arel trying to absorb these shock blasts from Jace, just not realizing how much that was gonna hurt while getting tagged by that outer rim of the Otacon attack. Just nuked his health bar from a third, and still who was sitting on that unbreakable, but just had no idea he was about to get absolutely deleted. And then Jace, once that Alistar is not in the game, he is full throttle, running at you with To the Skies, praying that Ari just absolutely fumbles a charm.
I think we fumble the charm. Also, this is a Jace without armor pen at this point, right? Jace is going to go in. Indigo jumping in. Of all. Interesting, as we're forcing out Space's Flash. That's actually a really, really big cooldown to burn here. I will say, even though that fight realistically did not go the way of Apotheosis, this game is far from over, right? We see it now, and obviously the range advantage does go the side of Mint, but look at it. The Varus is a threat. He is a menace. This Sivir is not super strong at this point. She's providing speed. What else is she going to do? As we're seeing these members are prowling around this dragon. They are trying to find the angles that they need. The engage potentially coming out. Aurel going in. The charm's going to land onto Gragas. Aurel's able to find a 3-man knockup. The advantage toss is landing onto 3. They're trying to do it. 200 Years is legendary. He's able to find the picks. It's a lot of damage, and it is too much. Gragas is buying enough space. They get the kills. They get the damage done. Varus falls. It's just Zenobia flashing just to send a message at this point, and that's a triple going to 200 Years. Wow, way to fight back here if you're Mint.
Yeah, Mint, for the first time in the series now, playing with the gold lead, playing with tempo. And it is off the back of this first pick Jace from 200 Years. They had the counter pick for it. They did not, off the back of Punda kind of griefing one early game dive into an Amumu gank, into this dude, Tokyo Drift, hit the Nas, and has took over this mid game. This does just kind of feel like the, oh no, anything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong for Tilt in this game. But with that being said, Tilt still has good angles into this game. Jax at 1 and 7 can still just be a nuisance on these side lanes with Triforce. And I'm not sure how much more value this Fiddle support's really going to generate, as it's starting to go into that Zonias now. So maybe it's just the zone creation they're looking for with it.
I mean, yes. I also just think, just looking at how it's going, I think the Varus is strong, sure, but if they have these snap engages, Jace is gonna have a lot more damage in the tank. He has his abilities are on such a less cooldown, right? He has 6 basics, right? He's gonna be throwing those out constantly. He's sitting with so much gold in hand, but a fight is breaking out. We see a TP is coming out from the Ahri. Jace is TPing in as well. He's in a little bit of a bad spot here. Yurtmeister does fall, and that's a Baron that just immediately spawns. They're gonna try to pull the trigger here, but this might actually be a bit of a blunder. You're playing into the Jace, you're playing into the Sivir poke. Look at this poke that's coming out. Actually, the Edge of Night is popped here. That is actually massive here. We're seeing some damage. This is scary. Aurel is going in. You don't have any follow-up, but we see it's going to be enough as space goes in. Water forced to cleanse. Look at the cask. It's doing damage. Zenobia's trying to get the Qs off. It's not enough. Jace goes in and pop goes the deer. It is hunting season in 200 years with 16 kills is feeling crazy. And he's able to get these kills. Space goes in, popping the okay. The Fiddlestick support. Was it the reason they won? Maybe not, but I mean, hey, actually, this game isn't technically over, but the pressure is on for Apotheosis. I mean, wow.
Yeah, and this Gragas build is actually, I mean, the Lichbane doesn't help much for what I'm about to say, but with that Archangel's Cosmic Drive, having that much AP in your kit right now with the amount of poke this Jace can throw out, Gragas doesn't need to be the star of the show, and he knows it, but he's got enough damage that when he throws full combo to pepper the members of Tilt down, this Jace can just come over top and follow it up. And it is almost a kill every single time.
I feel like it's just, yeah, it's just so much damage, and it's a little bit too hard to deal with, right? You just see the Lilia, she wants to be playing these extended fights, and they don't have to play these extended fights. They can put on the pressure. They can throw these casks. They can throw the shock blast. They can throw the boomerangs, and what's the response, right? Lilia, obviously, she's up a little bit of gold, but how's she going to fight into this team? Who is she damaging without immediately getting blown up? And I don't know.
Yeah, these late game fights, you have to play on a knife's edge. This is Lilia's issue of that champ has to play in and out of range constantly. But we see Jace just auto-aggroing the Baron, but they realize they're on a ward, and they decide to just back off. Water trying to place a little bit of poke.
Really
Gragas
bad
kind of behind enemy lines, though.
Spot at the moment. He is running. He does have the tower available, but that blast cone is not going to be how they want it to be set up. We see that the effigies are set up pretty well. Right now, it's very hard to play at this point, right? The Varus does have poke damage, sure, but what's that to the 4-item Jace? What is that to a Sivir who's now at 3 items herself? She has the shutdown. She's leading the charge, and Spirit Rush is going to keep you alive, but if you're having to use that defensively, that's not where you want to be.
No, and if you're the side of Tilt right now, you know it's going to be a minute before your Jax is really online.
Gragas might...
You're trying to play around.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be something. Sorry, go ahead, Mr. Storm.
Lilia's really trying to play on just like her Exodia style kind of fight here, and if they can't get it, this will get a lot harder. Alistar able to finish that Knight's Vow now, though. Hopefully give some more survivability to another one of the teammates, be able to soak some of that damage in the Unbreakable. And we see he's hex getting in. He might try to look for an angle here.
But look at the damage that is going on to this deer, right? How does she realistically play these fights? Because, like, the positioning is set up. It is advantageous for the side of Mint Cryptic. They are holding strong, and they are getting a dragon as well. There's no point in even hanging out in this area. Look at Just Gank mid. He's kind of sitting in the wing. He pops the Edge of Night from Water. They're leading the charge. They might be feeling worried, maybe trying to find a pick onto Larry, but what's the move? Like, the chase is just too strong at this point. You can play this Jace so many different ways. You could play him on side by himself, but I think the name of the game is you keep him in these fights. He is your carry, obviously, and how do you deal with him when you have the peel from the Amumu, the Gragas, the Fiddlesticks in that support role? We memed on it, but it's doing a good job of, he can fear out a lot of the primary threats that are going to be onto this champion, because Lily is fast, and she's also really fast when she's running away. Look at this. We see that Fiddlesticks is coming in hot. Aurel is not instantly, I guess, as we see 200 Years is exhausted, but the damage is done. Aurel falls a legendary, pops up for this Jace, sitting at 17 kills, and a Baron might be making him purple as well, as we see Mint Cryptic. They're going to take that pick. Hey, over on the other side, we do see the Jax take a tower. He almost has his third item, so maybe he's got a chance here, but still, Baron Nashor is obviously going to be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, Jax opting into this double amp tone. If I had to put my money, is playing for that third item Zonias, as we see that is what comes through. Playing to try to be a little bit more of a team fighting presence here. Personally, I almost wonder if they need Jax to kind of be this side lane soak right now and say, hey, we know this is not an easy game for you to play right now, but we almost wonder if you can kind of boss in law the side lane to get us a better fight, maybe pulling 2 members to you, and we can look for that 4v3 is the way they should try to play this fight right now. But as we see, Aurel might be getting looked at, same with Zenosha.
I mean, you look at it, and it's this Jace is just leading the charge, right? There is not a lot of fear in the side of Mint Cryptic. They know that the gas is on. I will say it is only 7k gold lead. The Varus is potentially still holding on to a little bit of gold himself. It is not out of the woodworks here, right? If there is a big blunder from the side of this Cryptic roster, it could be flipped back on its head. But, like we said, the driver's seat is still in favor of this Cryptic roster, right? They have the Jace, they have that range advantage, they have control of this jungle, and we just look at what is going to be their option here. Space is kind of hanging out, he's waddling around, but we see the Chain of Corruption is going to land, but it is the tank Fiddler. It is going to be doing some damage, and some damage is following it back up. Aurel, Space is knocked in, he's trying to buy space. I didn't even mean to do that, guys, I promise, but it ends up being a 2-for-1, and it's not good. You hold on a little bit, but there's still Baron minions firing away at this, and you look at its Space of all the champions is okay to die. Jace is still alive. Space and Jace, it's hard to cast this, guys, I'm going to be honest, but we get the point. Indigo going in. Zenobia going in with the flash, getting the Zonyas. This could be the angle that they need. Long shot, Larry's going to fall, but 200 Years is still alive. It is a 2v3. Indigo's buying enough space, goes in with the charm. It's not enough. The Counter-Strike is tough, but Water is knocked back with the cast. Goodness gracious, look at that damage. Ace goes the way of Mint Cryptic. 200 Years. Of all the champions to say that on, Jace, I didn't expect it. The first pick, Jace, it was a bit of a shock, but hey, they proved us wrong for sure. And there, we're going to see it. Mint Cryptic, I guess they can't get as much as I thought, but they're trying to bounce back in this series.
Yeah, Aurel just kind of sitting here shadow boxing with the Jace. Gragas makes the rotate so he can guarantee him getting out. Ari was kind of trying to look to see if they can get a random pick off of it. But right now, it's just going to be wave catch simulator for the side of Tilt, which is going to suck because they're going almost have to forfeit over this Hextech Soul to the side of Mint. Down 15 kills now, about an 11,000 gold lead, or 9,000 if I could do math. This game does not get easier for the side of Tilt, but it is not impossible yet.
Well, when Aurel has to use his flash defensively, it does make it a lot harder here. The Swirl Seed is going to slow down this Mint Cryptic roster, but hey, look at that. Soul Point is on the horizon, and that dragon is coming in 15 seconds. What's your play? How are you going to get out of this one? It's tough, and I mean, I just think a lot of it is just the pressure is on, the gas is on. Indigo forced to be mid is tough. Arel is pulling the pressure. He's getting it done, but look at that. That Ari is gone. That is a pelt at this point. Yurt is in. He finds the angle underwater. Zenobia is trying to buy space. The Zanya is going to pop, but look at that. The spooky guy's here, and we see it's a 3-for-0. The charge is on. They don't need the dragon. They want the Nexus instead. Indigo trying to buy space. The Zanya's... it's an item, as Longshot Larry is able to pick up his 3rd kill of the game. Water is no more, and look at that. We see a good response there. I know a lot of teams, they will belly up when they are down 2-0. This team, they said no, no, no. The first pick, Jace, the Gragas, the Fiddle support are going to make it so we have ourselves a series.
Yeah, and now going into this game 4, Tilt kind of getting rocked in the 3rd round here. What do they go to here? Do you decide to take back blue side and just say, hey, we're going to make you play into us. We're going to take our first pick Varus and we're going to run. Do they go back to red side and just not fall victim to the first pick Jace syndrome and hold that top lane pick a little bit later? I think that'll be super important. I think maybe trying to possibly pinch Yard and not allow him on these more simple to play tanks like the Amumu. They've already been banning away the Maokai, I think, and just making them play more of a hand check into before I butcher their name. Zenobia is also another good angle they could look for here, as Zenobia is another player that has been playing insanely well in this series. Sadly, that game 3 playing Lilia into an insanely high damage team is pretty treacherous.
You
But
know, I will say, I don't want to say one person loses the team a game. But, Punda, if you ever do that again, Punda, you, I, it was actually going to, if, I honestly think if that shenanigans mid lane did not happen, this was going to be a 3-0. We were going to be night-night, we were going to be tucked in bed, we were going to be honk-shoeing, okay? Because the fact that Punda was limit testing so hard there, obviously they thought they had the kill. Jace getting 2 kills is the way they get into that game, right? You need to punish that first pick Jace. The fact that the first pick Jace gets those 2 kills, it's evil. It's evil. And I know, Punda, I know you're in the chat, and I know maybe I'm being a stinker, but also... But anywho, that's besides the point. You got to rally. You got to bounce back here. You got to hold the fort. And as you know, we're just hanging out as, I'm just getting myself situated in this situation. Situated in the situation, obviously. But yeah, you just got to hold strong. I know that Panda has the mechanics. I feel like you just hold tight. You keep yourself composed. You got this in the bag. We just need to see that here.
yeah, for this game 4 draft, we're seeing Tilt go back to the blue side here. I don't know if we're going to see any changes in bans here. Maybe we drop a ban and just say, hey, that Jace was kind of gross. I don't want to see it again. Maybe they say, hey, yeah, it everything, the stars aligned for Jace in this game, and we aren't going to let it happen again. Not quite sure what the angle for it is, as I know Tilt is ready for draft, but Mint has not yet readied. But also for the side of Mint now, do they swap any bans? Do they keep Talon on the block here? Or do they maybe get rid of the Varus like we talked about last game? But we're going to see as we get into this game 4 draft.
I'm gonna be honest. Of all of the things that stayed consistent in that game, the Varus was consistent. I think he had the kills. It's just the rest of the map kind of just got overrun. So obviously, it's not the end of the world. I think you still first pick Varus. Obviously, maybe Water doesn't want to play Varus 4 games in a row. If I'm the rest of the team, I say, suck it up, bro. You are locking in. You are playing well on this champion. We don't care that we lost. Play Varus here. I don't think it's going to get banned by Mint. I think they're like, oh, we can just play Silver into it. It's going to be good. No, keep him on Varus. The guy is good. He's smooth. He's flowing like he's water. And we see it. It's going to be the same bans here from the game 3. Exactly. Varus first pick or I cry. Oh, I might cry anyways, but you know.
Yeah. Now for the side of Mint, what is your ant? They just rock the Jace again. The Jace Sivir come back out. If you're Tilt, I don't want to see mid picked here. I think you just take, or maybe you do take mid. Please don't play Lilia again. This did not work.
I don't
I
think
will
it
admit
was.
Lilia is a strong champ, but
I
playing
necessarily
Indul.
don't think it was the Lilia that was the issue. I think Karma's really solid here. And kind of helping out with that.
Mhm.
Bard also not a bad choice here. Barge? It is Barge, as we're gonna see. I would bet. I don't know what the next pick is. I do think you need to go with a mid laner here. Just like saving like counter picks. What is going to be countered, right? Because like if you're just blinding all of your champions, what is the point of saving that mid lane pick? I don't know. I think there are ways to shut down the Jace. I'm a big fan of Syndra into it. Is it Diana as their answer? That also could be a jungle option here, but I think Diana is not a bad option. It can work.
No, I think Diana's a really good pick here. Another thing they could possibly have looked at was the Akali. I think Akali's another champion that still lanes perfectly fine into something like the Jace. And in that game, if it techs top side, you can just move Akali top as Indigo's seem really proficient on it. I would assume Punda's got a little bit of it in the bag, just because if they're scrimming with it, respectfully, it's the if you see somebody play with a toy, you kind of want to play with it too. Dilemma. Um, Tilt here, I would really want to see maybe a Gragas ban. That looked super annoying. They didn't know how to properly kind of space it out and deal with its combos, as well as they're kind of playing another really burst heavy comp, and that is really what Gragas wants to play into, to just eat the majority of that damage with the W. But we see the Fiddle taken away, and Mint opting to get rid of the Jax and the Nico, possibly.
The Fiddlesticks respecting space. He was gliding on it as well as Karma taken away. I think they're good answers here, potentially, with pairing with the Sivir as well. We saw that we memed on the Fiddlesticks, but it got value. It was a way of shutting down a lot of the potential flash counter engage that we saw from this Alistar. Alistar actually had a lot of good knockups. It's just the rest of the team was doing too much damage on their side, as it's going to be Nautilus locked in potentially as that blind answer. There are a lot of ways you can go with it. As Kane was not at the top of my list. I know it's a very good pick into a Mumu, so I could potentially see that. I know Zenobia, we've seen it, is wanting to play those kind of like those carry junglers, and Kane fits that bill. There are these angles for it. I think there might be better stuff for sure, but I don't know. As Aatrox is what's hovered, is the potential blind here for Indigo. And you just look at what might be the counters and what is going to be in the back pocket here of gank mid, please. And Wukong is the pairing here with the Diana, trying to shut down, doing these engages, playing aggressive, playing skirmishy. It's their answer here.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'll be surprised to see if this is the poke. I think Lilia makes Poke Varus a lot more playable here, other than Wukong. But again, this is a hard comp to have to play Lilia into. Amumu, Nautilus, Jace do just get to point and click you in team fights. Um, but we'll see what the R5 counter into this Aatrox is. I know Indigo is a super comfortable Aatrox player. They tend to get some kooky builds,
Just
playing for
Gragas.
some random like armor
This,
items in their build, but we do then see the Gragas response.
I think I think Aatrox into Gragas is not as bad as Jax into Gragas. I don't know as much about top. I would assume it's still annoying. This is almost the exact same comp from Game 3, other than the Nautilus being replaced with the Fiddlesticks. You would say this comp is better on paper, to be honest. You would think that, like, they have the sauce here, this Cryptic roster does. I need to see. It's just like, don't let the Jace get ahead. If the Jace gets ahead, it's going to be kind of the same old song and dance here. But if you play it out, right, you have that early skirmish ability. They're going to bounce back. They're like, hey, we let game 3 slip from us. Bounce back. Let's lock in. And let's get it done.
Yeah, I will say the Aatrox does lane a bit better into the Gragas, but again, Gragas is kind of that Swiss Army knife champion of he doesn't have a generically bad point in the game, but he is never overly dominant. But on the side of Tilt playing this same exact style of draft, same exact game they played last game. If Jace doesn't take over out of nowhere off a botched dive, that we looked at this wrapping the stream up a long time ago. But now Tilt said, "Hey, we blundered one early game. That's our mulligan of the series. We're gonna lock in for this game 4, get a clean sweep, and just close out the series."
Hey, we're going to have to see what that response is going to be as these champions are being locked in, getting us ready for game 4, as we're going to take a quick break, give us a chance to recoup, take a deep breath before what could potentially be a banger scrape series, or we're going to see if Apotheosis can hold it down. So with that, we're going to cut to spectator delay break, and we'll be back in just a bit for you guys.
I can feel you in my heart, you in my arms. I can feel you in my heart, you in my arms. There's a beauty in the way you're worn, and the sharpness of your thorns, so vibrant in the imperfections, in the pain there's something real, all that anger so concealed, still you're lost in how to feel, just let me hold that severed world.
There's a beauty in the way you lay, and the way your color fades. You stand out now with your imperfections. Oh, it was never meant to fall apart. It was not supposed to cause us harm. But these days, all I do is wonder, is about another way could start again. 'Cause in the pain there's something real. All that anger so concealed. Still you're lost in how to feel. Just let me hold. Oh, that's severed heart. The pieces still so cold. All the tears won't bring it back to life. But hate will always grow.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Game 4 of what we might have thought was going to be a quick series, but Mint Cryptic bouncing back after 2 losses with a very surprising Fatal 6 support and a lot of backbone. This backbone is still here for this comp here, as all champions are returning except for the Nautilus is the new one on the block, but what's going to be Apotheosis' response? Are they going to let Cryptic come back into this? We're going to have to see. As Storm, I'm joined by once again, looking at what we're seeing here. Anything crazy at this point?
We are seeing a little bit of rune changes in this game. Jace opting into that grasp, now being into that melee Diana. Aatrox taking a pretty common Conqueror page. It's pretty expected. We're going back to the Comet Varus, so I would be expecting another Lethality Varus game here, as it's been the comfort all series long. I think we're just going to keep seeing these just standard 5 points. Neither team really wants to flip a bad fight this early in the split. On top of that, we saw a little bit before we went live here, Punda flashing the Mastery. Mastery 62 on this Diana, so is more than comfortable on this pick.
Oh, yeah,
As we
obviously.
see Jace trying to get that early trade in. Oh,
Nothing to sneeze at, but I
The
will
balloon.
say I don't know how Jace is down health. It always just kind of feels like every time you go for a trade on Jace, you're not doing as much damage, especially early. And it's just like Diana is a pretty versatile champion at the moment, right? She is pretty strong at the patch, especially when they put a lot of those buffs into making her lane a lot stronger. Like Q, E damage, especially if you're going the electrocute, opting into Conqueror this time around, I think it's not bad, but she does a ton of damage, and especially when you're this proficient like we talked about at Punda with all of that mastery, as you mentioned, I'd be a little spooked.
Yeah, Diana taking that Conqueror page as
Ooh,
well, not going for like an
Space
electric burst.
going in for some shenanigans here, but he actually gets topped by the Swirl Seed here. Zenobia is trying to make space, but Yerdmeister is also in the hunt. He's actually up a level. They go in. Zenobia, another first blood goes the way of this Jace. Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm seeing it. I'm
Dad,
seeing
the
vision.
voices, they're happening again.
They're happening once again as we see the trades are coming out. This grass procs are being fed. They are being funneled into this guy. But hey, Panda, even with those unfortunate circumstances going his way, honestly, shout out to Space once again, going for these roams. Hale's hanging out here, but look at this damage coming out. 200 years is low, but he's going to be able to get away with the flash. The Q does not land. Space is trying to find something, but he's going to realize, hey, I might be biting off a little bit more than I can chew, especially with that large amount of damage coming out from Diana.
Yeah, Diana here, low mana, no flash. It's really hard for her to look to try to extend any of these plays. But as we can see now, Indigo picking up a little bit of a CS lead. Obviously, Gragas is going to be able to earn some of that back as that wave is pushing back into him. But this Gragas not nearly having as strong of a lane phase as it was in that first game. This is a good little early game lead from the side of Mint, but they had to burn a lot of resources. Getting both Flash out of mid and jungle here is going to make this initial drag fights a lot harder.
Yeah, the fight is going to be harder. I will say, though, a potential bright side for the side of Apotheosis is Diana got the tempo base off. She did not have to TP during that exchange, right? The real question is she going to use the fact that she has this TP advantage? Is she going to potentially go for these heavy trades? Is she going to look to find these angles? And hey, that's a heavy trade right there, but Jace does a really good job of kind of getting these bounce back trades, right? The melees go in, Jace has 6 basic abilities to kind of fire back with, and also, hey, when they're running out, you're ranged, so you can continue to put on the hammer, except you're the Mercury Cannon when you're ranged. But you know, you get the point, as we do see that the Bard is knocked up, not a whole lot of damage in response there. Actually, Varus make it so there is some damage, but we're seeing it here. Look at the chunks coming out a lot, and right now, hey, the fact that this Jace, he has the tier, he has the Ruby Crystal, he has that extra HP to play around with.
Yeah, definitely in a pretty safe spot in this lane. Punda's just kind of catching these shock blasts on the wave. It's the issue of playing a melee into Jace, is a lot of this early poke is a lot harder to really kind of dip and dive away from, as anytime you step up to try to catch the wave, you're going to be in threat of this Jace, unlike something like the Ahri, who can just kind of perma clear the way from range. But with that being said, Jace here does not have TP. Diana does. Diana can kind of just look to absorb a little bit of this and then maybe play and get a stronger spike. Whether they're going to go for maybe a full burst build, but Yardmeister is topside here.
Yeah, the potential absorbing might be from the... Actually, hang on, Aatrox justing 6. I think it's tough, but they're trying to find an angle here. Actually, there is no Lilia in sight, but we do see a TP is coming out. That TP advantage might actually be enough. Is it gonna be? This might actually now be really bad. I changed my mind. It is a 2v3. The flash is coming out, but Jace is going over the wall. It's just Punda. He does not have 6. He's knocked back. Oh no! Just Cake. Mid gets another one. The TP is for naught. They get the dragon on the backside, but hey, that Jace is 2-0-1. I'm getting deja vu here, Storm.
Yeah, and just that's such an unfortunate event there. The Gragas is the initial target they try to burst down, but that Aatrox kill gets flipped. The Aatrox kill then drops just enough XP to give him that level to survive the Diana, as well as get access to the Gragas ultimate to guarantee the Diana's death next. This is just another rhyme and reason of what's going wrong is just rinse and repeating.
Diana did pop 6 here, but hey, I guess it is the fact they don't know where the rest of this team is. Zenobia is using the fact that Amumu was spotted to get a couple camps for herself, and Indigo is trying to pinch her in this Amumu and this Nautilus. It looks like there might be some potential contestation around this Grubs, right? It's only a 700 gold lead. It's nothing crazy, right? There are no items, big items that are being completed at this moment. Jace obviously has some gold, but hey, he doesn't have his full items. He also is going with the tankier build. He's not going to have as much damage threat as he did otherwise. But that is some damage, still nothing to sneeze at this point. But, I mean, wow, you got to look at it and say, hey, how are we playing this out?
Yeah, this is going to get dicey again. I'm interested to see what this first item is for Jace. With that Ruby Crystal, is he possibly going Sojin?
It is Shojin Rush if you do go Grasp. I don't think you still go full tank, but you will go a nice damage.
Oh, Diana!
But it's not enough damage as Punda takes so much damage. Where is the damage here? I'm actually not seeing a whole lot of it. Indigo is doing some stuff on the back end here. Yurt is able to take it away. He's kind of in a bit of a bad spot at the moment. He's the only one alive. The Shock Blast is going to land, but it's not enough damage to finish off the deer. And honestly, great response there. Great flash Q from Arel there to buy enough space, give the Diana the angle that she needed to get a really, really big moonfall. And I mean, you look at it and hey, they're bouncing back. They're saying, hey, we're not going down without a fight this game.
Yeah, that
Oh, as I wanted to
Varus
give you time store, but
just
I
looking
cut
to
away to
engage.
Varus yelling as Longshot Larry takes a lot of damage there. But hey, it's just the ultimate, and they're gonna back away this time. Never mind. It's your time. It's your time. Go.
Yeah, Diana getting that flash engage on 3 sadly is just sitting on that Faded Ashes, so doesn't have a lot of burst components to really just blow up that fight. But either way, with the Conqueror still able to
Nice.
chunk a lot of damage in, but the Nautilus is mid here. This could get dicey,
Yeah, I
but
think
they
honestly,
walk it out as the wave crashes.
props to Space for finding a lot of these early engages that they need to kind of accelerate this comp, right? We see it. That gank was set up by a level 2 roam from Nautilus. If I was the mid laner there, I'd be screaming. I'd be so pissed. So I think it's the way to play it, right? Space has been all over the map. We saw it on the Fiddle as well, and they're doing a good job of not letting Punda do what they want. They're finding the angles, and hey, Punda's up some farm, but they're making it a little bit harder for him.
Yeah, and I think the other important thing to note in this game with how it's being played out is this Varus, for the first time in the series, in lane 0-0, only sitting with about a 4 CS lead. And they have kind of, even though they're playing the same comp, they're playing it entirely different. This Nautilus playing for that mid prio, trying to set up their Jace, and in turn is forced to Rel to try to match this pressure. But in matching it now, Sivir's just kind of getting a handshook lane where they're just trading wave for wave, as it's really hard for Varus to look for lethal into that spell shield.
Yeah, lethal is a thing that is probably not going to be coming by for at least a little bit as this game is going to continue to progress. But, I mean, hey, that's the nature of Bard, right? He kind of doesn't really want to be hanging out in lane. He wants to be going around getting his meeps. He's encouraged to go find ways to impact the maps of space. He just said, hey, I'm going to do it earlier. I'm going to do it more efficiently. And that is what we're seeing is it's been a lot of pressure. The mid-jungle support, how are these three bouncing off of each other? That's the name of the game, especially in this game, and we saw it game 3 for sure. And we're going to have to see, of those three, who's really going to come up on top, as we're seeing a lot of pings here in the mid lane. Space is trying to lead the charge. The swirl seed is going to go wide, and right now they're just using that space to potentially set themselves up for Dragon.
Yeah, and the ball is definitely in Mint's court right now. They've got the lead, but another thing to pay attention to, this Gragas may be 1-0-1, but Indigo with a sizable CS lead on this Aatrox. Aatrox is one of those champs, as he starts getting the levels in that queue, starts getting some CDR, becomes just as much of a nuisance laner as Gragas, constantly just peppering you with damage with that Darkened Blade, just poking you off the wave. And we see
Look
Indigo
at
is
that damage
just
that
really
we were-
comboing it.
Yeah, you were talking about it, right? Hitting all three of the sweet spots there on the queue, and it is just a lot to deal with here, right? It is, the pressure is on, and hey, this is the redemption arc we needed to see from Indigo. We saw it on the Jax that first game. He did not have the showing that he wanted, but this time around he's doing great as we see Panda's going in here using the Moonfall, but you don't have anybody else. You're trying to make the plays here on the side of the map, but you don't have enough sustained damage. Now cutting over bot side, we see the Space is trying to fight it out, but it's not going to be enough. The full procs of Blight is going to make it so that Nautilus is out of my sight. He is dead on my screen, and it looks like a Dragon is going to be going the way of Apotheosis after that.
Yeah, all that early game pathing away from the Varus. Varus still able to find the kill onto Space. Now they have to start dealing with the fact we're going to start stacking drags here. We see Infernal second. What are we going to get for a soul? And it is going to be Cloud Soul this game. 2 dragons on the side of Tilt here. Some wonderful people from LXC Crusader were talking about the Las Ratonas fundamentals. Oh, as we see, Punda
But
might be
what
in trouble
might need
before
to
I
be
finish
in the
the topic.
fundamentals is... Oh, I thought there was going to be something, but Arel is bailing out Punda there this time around. But hey, look at it again. This Jace is getting good value, right? Sitting at 3-0. Bard is in a bit of a bad spot. The damage is going to be coming in hot. Arel forced the flash away, and we just look at it, and this Jace is getting so much value here, right? sitting at 3-0,
Yeah.
getting a solo kill that, honestly, it wasn't, I'm not going to say deserved, but like he didn't have to work for it too hard there. Is we're just seeing it's just not a lot of damage, and the fact that JC has this lead, the spell shield coming out, but Yurtmeister's in a bit of a bad spot. He's gonna turn, as it is gonna be the ultimate popped, but it's not enough. Punda gets the ultimate with Moonfall. This might be the play that they need, as Indigo's doing a lot of damage. That's a 4-man sleep. We're seeing that Sivir's getting 2. Are they gonna be able to find more? Water finds 1 for himself as well. It's a good fight, finally, for the side of Apotheosis. Zenobia put that fight on her back, getting a triple, getting that 4-man sleep. Apotheosis are saying, we're not backing down.
Yeah, Zenobia going crazy in that fight, and the unsung hero of that fight is Indigo, constantly getting those knockups on multiple important members, while also keeping slept targets asleep by not just clipping them with a side part of it. Indigo may not have gotten any of the kills in that fight, but he was kind of the unsung hero there,
Oh,
allowing
absolutely.
his main damage to pepper through.
Pepper was applied for sure. As we see, they're also going to take this mid-tier 1 here. They are going to get that priority here in this lane, right? Sivir did get a couple of those kills. Longshot Larry is on the board. The gold is sitting pretty evenly, but Varus, hey, he's ounced his way back out. I feel like every time I look at this Varus, sometime in this game, he's going to have that early shutdown. And right now, he's with 200 gold in his pocket. He's got his Yomus. He's got his Muramana. He said, hey, if it isn't broke, I'm not going to fix it. I'm going to build the same way 4 times in a row. How are you going to stop me?
Yeah, and again, Mint has opted into this kind of draft that does not want to prioritize armor. You see Sivir also not going for the Reaver this game, but instead going Yuntal. I will say I think Yuntal is the better Sivir build. Couple other higher ranked players over New Origins swear by it. So I wanted to bring it up in game 3, but obviously it's just perma-fist fighting that game. But I think this will give Sivir a much stronger 2-item spike in this game, playing for that Yuntal IE. Jace already having that Spear of Sojin, already almost on the max stack tier as well. So once he hits that Manamune, it's just going to be a menace. But
Honda
on the
is
side
actually
of
snuck into
Tilt,
this lane. I thought we were going to see something, but yeah, we talk about it, and there's a lot of action going on, but it is working out like you said. For the side of Apotheosis, the build is kind of enabling them to do some things here. As the Rift Herald is taken, we do see the response coming out of space. Is going to potentially find Arel. The knockup is coming out from Water. The Chain of Corruption is going to be coming out, but that is a 2-man Bard ultimate on the champions that matter. Yurd's taking a lot of damage. Zenobia, unstoppable. Longshot Larry, he's not looking too good, man. He might be dead this time around. His 200 years is running for the hills. The Swirl Seed's not going to land, but hey, you took the Rift Herald, but look at that. We're going to be taking your heads.
yeah, Sivir trying to spell shield the Bard Q. Sadly, Bard Q is not a fair ability, and you may be able to spell shield its initial damage, but the stun pass-through still does apply, because Riot Game coding is very complicated. Punda able to drop and get some waves shoved in bot side, doesn't even join that fight, but in doing so, knowing the Gragas doesn't have TP, can't answer as well. This is a lot of lost waves for the side of Mint.
It is tough. Yeah, you're losing a lot here. You're kind of trying to find ways to kind of keep this game from kind of, I guess, going back to the where you wanted it to be game 3, right? Jace does have some gold in his pocket here. It's not as much, right? It was 3K last game. He's only at about 500 up. And the fact you're building this tankier build means you don't have as much damage as you used to have. But look at this. We're seeing another fight going out. Zenobia is knocked up. No Zonya's in sight, but the damage might already be done. Punda's here. We see it. Indigo is doing a lot of damage. He's getting a double kill. Indigo is finding it that they need it. 3, 1, and 6 on the Aatrox. It doesn't matter if you put this guy on a blind pick. He's going to find some value, except if it's Jax, but we don't count that one. As we see with this setup here, the fact that Zenobia did die makes it so it's tough to go for the dragon. They're going to just opt into pushing in these waves, find their plays here. They'll take that early gold. They'll just take it, right? Because the more kills you put on Aatrox, the scarier that guy's going to be.
Yeah, Indigo. Aatrox is just one of his champs from what I remember of him. I've seen him play absolutely out of his mind on it. Played against it in some scrims, and I think he's tired of playing the assist brigade, and he's starting to try to put this game in his hand a little bit. And he is just finding good engage after good engage. That fight should have been all but over, but Zenosha did get the sleep out, as well as then Indigo able to just pop that World Ender and just dive in and start trying to trade back.
I mean, it was clean and it was mean there. As we're seeing, the Dragon is fought over again. The Chains of Corruption, it's going to be a field goal, but we see it's not going to be enough here. As 200 Years is going and he's tanky, but the sleep is going to be slumbering as Indigo finds the engage. He's doing a lot of damage, and Just Gank Mid is his target. Forced to flash away. 200 Years running away. He's scooping around. He's getting him done, but not enough. Water's on a killing spree, able to hold down that position. Indigo is doing his damage, and it's going to be enough as the Dragon takes the brunt of it. And we see the Cloud Drake goes the way of Apotheosis. Ooh.
Yeah, I think we're going to start to see a little bit of a falter from the side of Mint here, purely because this just feels like the rest of Mint doesn't know how to play with this Jace right now. They kind of just got stuck in a 40-minute banger of full lethality, just full burst Jace, to now flip to this game with Sojin Rush Grasp Jace. It's the same champion, but it's a very different playstyle. And it just seems like they're overcommitting because they think they have more burst in these fights than they actually do.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta play it a different way when you're playing this Grasp Jace like you're talking about. It still has hands, but you're kind of just looking at it, and it's kind of more of a sustained fighter. It's a lot better in the 1v1 versus that Phase Rush Jace with the lethality. He is the team fight menace. He's going to be peppering a team before the fight starts, but you look at the side lane opposition he has to go against, it's Diana, who's not scary, obviously. I mean, well, she's semi-scary, but, like, look at the Aatrox. That Aatrox is going to easily say, hey, I'll go match the Jace, I'll kill that guy. And you just look at it, that Grasp makes it so that your team fight is not as strong. It's not as potent as it used to be. And the fact that Zenobia has the opportunity to kind of get some free reign, the damage is not there. She can just start skipping around, eeping as she pleases, and that damage and that sleep's going to be coming.
Yeah, this is a really good game state for the side of Tilt. Not one carry has all the gold. That's what you see. Aatrox now on 2 items. Lilia 2 items. Varus is going to be on 3 soon. That is kind of the plus side to this lethality build that a lot of people don't overly acknowledge. Is this champion hits its 3 item spike so fast because of being able to abuse how cheap lethality items are, that it's very easy for it to stay ahead of the curve on a lot of these crit 80 carries. As we see, Sivir does finish her 2 item core after a Cole. Hunda fighting the Jace, popping the Moonfall.
It's not
But we just
an
walk it out.
awful trade. That's not an awful trade if you are 200 years, right? Because you are just saying, hey, I don't have an ulti to burn. I just have form swaps. So using the fact that the Moonfall was used there, Punda is putting on the pressure. We like to see it, but you want to be saving those ultimates for these team fights, because honestly, at the end of the day, Jace can kind of pick and choose his fights. You're going this Conqueror build, you're not going to be as strong as you realistically would be if you were maybe going that Electrocute. You're not going to have that burst potential on the 1. So I think that's an okay trade if you're Jace. You take that and potentially say, hey, maybe we fight when it's down. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but that's what he's thinking.
Yeah, and it's kind of the issue of this Diana right now. In this full bruiser build they have, they need to just kind of sit here and just kind of fist fight you. And I don't know if that initial burst, they were a little worried about it, to the point where they just felt like they had to pop it to keep the upper hand. But as we still decided to Tilt trying to scope out, see if they can catch him on like a bad base timer here, but everyone taking pretty respectful bases.
Respectful bases in my League of Legends, that's not how I like to play, but we're looking at it now, and there's a lot of pressure being focused on this top side of the map. I don't know if they have a way to potentially crack this tower, right? There is just kind of two melees over on the side, so they don't have a whole lot of pressure there, but We do look bot side. We see that the level advantage is going the way of Indigo, right? He has the damage, he has the pressure, but Gragas is pretty mobile. He can kind of just say, I'm going to hang out regardless, so he's not too sad about that. But just looking at how this game has played out, right? There isn't a whole lot of scaling that you can be doing because Soul Point is on the table, right? And it's Cloud. If I'm Lilia with Cloud, I said it once, I'll say it twice, that is it's the best Soul in the game. I think I've seen that the team with Soul wins like 94% of the time or something crazy. So you got to potentially find a way to bite back. You do not want to give Soul over to this team. And you got to get back. You got to get as much gold as you can in, hell, 20 seconds. And you got to say, hey, we got to fight now or we're not going to fight ever.
Yeah, and with that drag coming up as soon as it is, the other thing is you have to be here first. You are not going to win an extended fight against this Lilia Diana Aatrox. You have to try to just get that initial burst on somebody and play out that way and play with numbers. They've numerous times now found engages on this Lilia, but you have to do this almost frame perfect because she has access to that hourglass now.
Edge of Night is popped here by 200 years. He is the first solo or side laner to be coming in. Diana is potentially looking to just find a TP angles. We do see 5 members are in. Yurtmeister is here. Zenobia is doing some stuff, but it's not enough. As we see, the Zanyas is popped. Buying enough space is the ultimate. Lily just goes in and she gets the drowsy off, but it might be a little bit too late. Diana is not here on time, but Indigo, we talk about him once, we talk about him twice. He's doing damage. He's finding what he can. 200 years is running for the hills, forced to flash away, and ends up only being a 1 for 0. And Space is gonna base, has the symbiotic souls. I know that it ends up being jungles traded, but the fact that that was only a 1 for 1, they get the dragon, that's a great play there for Mint.
Yeah, that kind of is going to be their saving grace. Getting the 1 for 1, saving a lot of lives there. Longshot Larry was forced out super early in that fight as Aurel on the Bard just kind of ran at him and fist fought him so he couldn't play and then portaled himself out. The issue though is that Aatrox just not having enough cooldowns to really stick on a lot of these targets yet. He's got the damage, but he really wants to play with the rest of his team's setup. But also, you're being able to force the dragon misplay for the side of Tilt, and them able to steal that away gives them another 4 minutes of breathing room where they have time to maybe play for the Sivir's third item, play for next item completions for Jace and Gragas, and then maybe take a fight on a little bit more equal terms.
Yeah, I will say a good bit of why that fight did not go as planned. I think is a lot of time 200 years just moved faster to it, right? Those 5 were there early into this fight, and it just made it that Punda was just a little bit behind the curve, right? I think they had to stay, they didn't have priority over the wave, and if you're not there early into this team, it's tough to play, right? Because we saw Zenobia went in for the flank, but if she doesn't have enough follow-up damage, you could flash in and get a massive sleep, but if you don't have any follow-up, if you don't have that damage, what is it for? As we see, Space is doing a lot of damage to Punda, forcing out the damage, forcing out the ultimate from the Bard, buying enough space to give the reinforcements time to get here. Yurt is holding it down. We see the Q almost landing there from Space. The hook is looking scary, but we see it is 5 members here. The cask is not going to be what it needs to be. Indigo is holding strong. The Chain of Corruption is not going to get multiple, but Indigo is leading the charge. He's tanky, but is it enough? As we see, that's a massive ulti. The Moonfall has fallen. Punda's doing damage. It's a triple as Varus doesn't let Punda get the penta, but it's going to be damage done regardless. It's a quad for Punda, and I don't think they have the tankiness to take these objectives, potentially, but especially with Diana basing, they're just going to say, hey, we're going to take Otacon instead. That is the fight they need, and that's why, hey, fellas, you hold on to your Diana ulti.
Yeah, that was really well played. Indigo dropping pretty low early in that fight, but getting that Deathbringer auto to bring himself right back up, able to get another half rotation of that key water, is shadowboxing demons on this Otacon. But they are able to get it without anyone getting accidentally tagged by one more ring. if you're Tilt, you guys are turbo chilling. You clean up your waves, clean up your camps, take your bases, play with your item spikes, and you can kind of just stand and say, hey, you come into us, my Bard is locking at least 2 people up, and you're getting fist fought to oblivion. That should be the level of chilling they are right now.
Now, Storm, take me to dinner first. But I mean, we look at the situation and it's like, I mean, what are we gonna do? Like, it's you have so much damage threat from the Lilia, from the Diana, from the Aatrox, and it's sustained damage too. It's not just burst. I mean, Diana obviously can burst, but like still. And the fact that you have this Bard to buy space with the ulti, the Varus who's gonna be peppering you with these piercing arrows, with the chains of corruption, it's tough. And like, what's the move? What are you gonna find? And realistically, it's you kind of gotta look for these plays. Maybe Sivir can scale, and she will be able to kind of like be this late game monster. She's only down 300 gold. That's potentially your angle, but if you engage and you find long shot Larry is in a bad spot, it's gonna be so hard.
Yeah, and that definitely is the one bright light for the side of Mint here is long shot Larry on this Sivir. Going to be approaching 300 CS here really soon. Is sitting now on that Zeal. If I remember my math right, should be at about 95% crit chance. If the side of Mint Tilt mess up this engage or Indigo gets caught in
That
a weird
could be the
angle,
mess up that they need, but Zenobia is going in with the flash. They find that the sleep is going to be sleeping a lot of them. As Panda comes in, yeah, that's going to be tough. As I thought there was a chance, but we see Punda is here, and he gets the Moonfall of all Moonfalls. It is a clean, not a clean ace, as Jace is running for the hills, but Punda is buying space. It's 200 years versus the world. This is the 1v1 that they wanted. Flashing over from 200 years. He's trying to get out, but look at this. I think he's going to flash the wall.
oh,
Boy, that was kind of nasty. I don't know if you guys were seeing
let
that.
me
That
fix
was
my
kinda
KD.
clean. But that was clean indeed, as they're going to say, hey, we're not making it this time. We're not going to Silver Scrapes. We're ending it here. The 4 is landing. Good luck in finals is what they're saying. As Apotheosis, they're holding strong, and they're going to take their spot here next week in the finals for the Warden Championship of League of Extraordinary Champions.
All I'm going to say is I'm not saying production was saying some crazy things with y'all's Twitch chat predictions, but I saw that there was an obscene number of people, a lot of Mint hopefuls out here, and I did throw my 13,000 channel points immediately back for my boys on Tilt. So God bless them, I got my points back. But what a game from both sides here. This was back and forth. Obviously, Tilt getting the better end of it, but a lot of good points of that game for the side of Mint as well. And no matter what happens here, you have to kind of hang your head high. This is Warden. You are in the elite for this league, and you made it all the way to semifinals, took it to 4 games, and just weren't able to ink it out and get to that game 5 and flip the series. It it does hurt to lose, but this is a loss you can still be proud of at the end of the day.
A loss to be proud of for sure. But we aren't talking about the losers tonight. Obviously, shout out to them, but we want to also congratulate Tilt Esports, right? They put on a good show. They had the potential angles. They got a little bit thrown off by that Jace, by the Sivir Amumu comp, and they said, hey, we're going to hold strong. We got caught by it once. We're going to not let ourselves falter here. Good response there, as well as honestly a good bounce back from this roster, right? Indigo Pundit not having the best showing in that game 3. They did a lot of work to kind of really bring it back together here. I will say, though, if we're talking series MVPs, I think it's a toss up between Zenobia and Water, right? Water topping the damage charts. Obviously, it's because maybe they played Lethality Varus 4 games in a row, but still, they held down the fort, right? They did their job and they did it well, right? Sitting at 6-0-14 in that game, almost having 100% kill participation, and as well as Zenobia, right? Playing these hyper scaling farmers, right? Finding ways to inch out every amount of gold lead that you can. They were able to find these flash engages that they needed to really make that comp work in game 4. If I had to choose, obviously, maybe I'm going to go with Zenobia just because I thought it was a clean way to play. It's not something you see a lot of the time. You don't see someone getting hacker bans that often. So shout out to Zenobia. That is my MVP for the series here.
Yeah, MVP. I get it. Zenobia playing out of their mind in a lot of these games, but a lot of what you're saying, Water, in the other side of this, it turns into what do you value? Do you value peak or do you value total? And at the end of the day, whether we see in that game Water kind of left on an island there, supports perma sitting mid, and every single game, no matter the situation they were put in, they performed. Sure, we might be kind of crutching on lethality Varus, but at the end of the day, if they're not going to ban it away from you, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And so for me, I got to give it to Water is just having that stable of a performance, playing an AD carry that does not have defensive tools. That is just very good positioning and a very good series from him.
Yeah, once again, honestly, to Water, but also to the rest of this roster as well. And I kind of kid, but also shout out to the members of Mint Cryptic. They got here for a reason, right? They deserved their spot in semifinals. Like we said, they're going to hold their heads high. Obviously, they're going to be disappointed. Every team is disappointed after a series loss, but still, you made it this far. Be proud of that. Potentially bounce back, find your way to rebuild, regroup. You guys are going to be doing big things. You're already doing big things, right? You're in Warden after all. So but once again, I think we've been yapping at you guys' ear for a long time. It's almost been 3.5 hours. But once again, we want to thank you guys all so much for watching. We appreciate you guys all sticking out for this series. Once again, shout out to Storm, my color caster. It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
As always, brother.
And with that, once again, I'm Badger. I've been so excited to be you guys' play-by-play for tonight. Join us again next week, I believe on Tuesday for our Sentinel finals, if I'm not mistaken. If it's our Sentinel finals as well as our Crusader finals, it's finals week. It's gonna not Crusader. Really, not Crusader. Interesting. They
Crusader is
rescheduled.
having a reschedule.
Of course, they are those dirty dogs. But with that, we want to thank you guys again. We hope to see you again on Tuesday for what is going to be the Sentinel finals. And with that, I think we're going to sign out. I hope you guys all have a good rest of your day and sleep tight.